But there's one thing he can't change. Love as true stays the same. It lives on and on and on in any climb. And you don't ever have to fret. Fall in love, you forget. That old guy, that old man, time. Listen to me, he gave you beauty, charm, grace, and the wrinkles in your face. That old man, that old man.
Older and hopefully wiser. Welcome to Baseball 101 with Professor Maddox. Today's topic, win or it's over. Jimmy Rollins played the trumpet, right?
Yeah.
You got a little taps in you?
I don't know about
Break
taps.
some of that out for the Yankees, and the Dodgers hope not for their club today. Kevin Kennedy here as well as we watch Greg Maddux, hoping he's not going to overstretch something. The Dodgers have been dealing with so many injuries this season, especially down the stretch. Very streaky club, and maybe it's caused a situation where the manager has to juggle the lineup so much.
Well, I think with Nomar out, the key move for me, get defense out there for Greg Maddux. You're going to see 15 to 17 ground ball outs, especially those left-hand hitters going to try to roll over to the right side, and for that reason, James Loney is in the lineup tonight. I like this because I don't want to see Jeff Kent playing first and Lugo at second. Neither guy really plays that position. Betterman does play third normally, so left side of the infield's fine, but, you know, you're going to see a lot of this, and Jimmy, you're a switch here. You hit left-handed against Greg Maddux, but you've had some success. What do you do against Greg Maddux?
Against Greg Maddux, you have to go out there and be patient. The first thing you understand is that he's going to throw strikes, and he's going to throw balls that look like strikes. And in that situation, you don't want to go up there and be too aggressive. Let him make mistakes, because he will give you a pitch to hit. You just can't miss that pitch.
All right, we're going to talk about mistakes, one early in this series. And you hate to turn to one game to one moment. A couple of outs is the turning point of the series. But we have to go back to game one and the base-running blunder.
Well, and I want to ask Jimmy specifically, J.D. Drew, what are you doing in this situation? You're the trail runner. You read the play already.
Well, that's true. You read the play. And in that situation, when the ball comes off the bat, you have to know who's in front of you. It's not a fast runner in Jeff Kent. So you know it's going to be hard to score both of you guys. And then when the play comes to the plate, when he's running third, he should look up and find out where the play is because everything's in front of him. Now, the runner on second, he has to score. You ball off the wall, you're scoring, no matter what. But as a trail runner, you find out what's going on in front of you. Just in case what happened to third base coach, started watching play, you take care of your business and maybe make something happen.
So really everybody was really at fault. I mean, that's a situation that could cost the Dodgers the whole series, but everybody has to take a little bit of this blame, not just J.D. Drew, not Jeff Kent, the third base coach as well.
Everybody.
All right, 3 former Dodgers sporting a Mets uniform today. One found his way into the most memorable play of this postseason, and Chris Myers found out it is not easy being green right now in Los Angeles.
All right, thanks very much. With Shawn Green, first of all, you can go for the clinching game tonight, facing a veteran in Greg Maddux. What kind of matchup do you expect?
It's two guys that have similar styles, Maddux and Traxler. They both aren't overpowering, either one of them, and they just try to move the ball around, work the count, mix in some breaking balls and change-ups, and they both know how to pitch. Obviously, Maddux is definite Hall of Famer, and he's been here before.
So do you feel, I know Willie Randolph said watching these other series, we want to end it here. We don't want to go another game.
Without a doubt. I mean, it's anytime you're in a good position like we are, 2-0, you don't want to leave the other team a chance to come out and possibly tie the series. So a loss tonight will put them in a position where they can bring it back to New York, and obviously we don't want to do that, but we're going to have our hands full. They're a good team, good lineup, and with Maddux on the mound, it's most likely going to be a low-scoring game. Yeah, and I know you're going to have a number of friends and relatives here from the OC. You're one of those ex-Dodgers now Met. What about the vibe between New York and L.A. in a playoff series? How do you describe it, especially here at Dodger Stadium? Well, I played two postseason games here at Dodger Stadium back in '04 against St. Louis, and it was a huge change from the regular season, very electric. And, I thought it was about as intense as it can get until I played a couple games in New York this past week. And, it's both places are great places to win. But, New York for me is it's pretty hard to beat with the kind of electricity you have in the stadium and in the city.
And expect a lot of noise tonight.
I'm expecting a lot of noise, definitely.
Okay. All right, thanks, Shawn. Good luck, all right, to you and the Mets. Appreciate Shawn Green with us. Let's go back to the studio.
Guys, thank you so much. In case you have not heard, Nomar Garciaparra has a tear in that upper quad muscle of his left leg. He admitted, Jimmy, I pushed it just a little too hard the other night. You kind of understand the situation.
Definitely. You're in a situation like that, you're not going to go out there and do things halfway. And you hit a ball the way he did. First thing he's thinking about is I got to get safe the first. I have to go out and get everything I can to get a hit because it may help his team out. But in doing so, he hurt himself.
Yeah, no thought of trying to save yourself where there is no tomorrow. Our resident shortstop has surprising pop in his bat. Still, Mr. Rollins took the sacrifice to fly here and be with us today instead of staying in Philly for the return of Terrell Owens to the city of brotherly love. The good news, you can catch it on Fox, my friend. And just for you, Jimmy, here's a little preview from Joe Buck and the boys.
Here it is, the Division Series.
The dream continues.
Mano y mano.
It's playoff baseball next on Fox.
The faces of October, you can count the Yankees out now. They have been eliminated. The Padres get a win today in St. Louis, so they live to see another game. And now the question remains, can the Dodgers do the same? We're going to take a look at the pitching matchup right now, where, of course, we've talked so much about Greg Maddux on the mound facing Steve Traxel. Couple of back surgeries, really returning after 14 months here.
And don't forget, this guy won 15 games for these guys in New York Mets. I mean, he does take his time, Steve Traxel. And Jimmy, you know that. You face this guy.
Translation.
Rain delay.
Rain delay.
It's going to be a long game. But you know,
to say it.
He's got a lot of movement. The one thing I like Willie Randall, what he's doing, he's pushing the envelope. He's managing with sense of urgency. If a guy gets in trouble early, he's not afraid to go to that strong bullpen. And, of course, Jim, you talked a little bit about Greg Maddux today, but in reality, what I want to ask you about was Steve Traxel. You've also faced him. What do you do against Steve Traxel?
Well, I haven't figured that out personally.
You bring a book,
but,
you bring a book, DVD.
You know, you have to make Steve Traxel be up. He throws a good split finger. He throws one for strikes. He throws one to get you out. He throws a fastball, and everything starts from way above his head, and it's going down through the zone. If you find a way to speed him up and get him up, you know, you have success against him.
All right, I got to speed you up. I thank you for being here, sir. You want to watch a little postseason baseball with us? We're going to send you out to Dodger Stadium. It's the Mets. It's the Dodgers coming up next on Fox.
It's an absolutely beautiful night in Los Angeles, where the Dodger faithful are hoping their team can come alive back on the home front. We welcome you to Game 3 of this National League Division Series between the New York Mets and the Los Angeles Dodgers, and the Mets lead in this best-of-5, 2-0. Hi again, everybody. Alongside Tim McCarver, I'm Tom Brenneman. Welcome, as always, to playoff baseball here on Fox. Well, for the Dodgers, their biggest game of the year, on the brink of elimination. With that in mind, Timmy, is there one guy you'd rather have on the mound than the future Hall of Famer Greg Maddux?
No, particularly, Tom, since he has pitched so well here in Dodger Stadium this year. How does he do it? He pitches to hitters' aggressiveness. He gets Mets hitters, he hopes, and Dodger fans hope, gets them out on balls out of the strike zone, particularly down. So the Mets have to be very, very patient with Maddux tonight. And speaking of patience, the Dodgers have been very patient with their 1 and 2 hitters, Rafael Furcal and Kenny Lofton, but they're only 1 for 15. As they go, the Dodgers go only 1 for 15 so far in the series.
As far as the Mets are concerned, in our visit with Willie Randolph a short while ago, he's not going to wait around until tomorrow to try and finish off this series. He wants Game 3 badly tonight.
It'll be interesting to see how the starter, Steve Traxel, does. He hasn't pitched since September 24th, and Willie telling us, I do not want to relive that nightmare. When I was a coach for the New York Yankees 2 years ago, we were up 3 games against the Red Sox. The rest is history. The Red Sox came back and beat them 4 in a row.
Well, the Dodgers won 49 games at home, and they're hoping back at Dodger Stadium they can make this a series. They might be running on fumes, but the Dodgers aren't dead yet. Sellout crowd at Dodger Stadium, and the home team has taken the field, trailing this best-of-5 series 2-0, led by the future Hall of Famer Greg Maddux. Nomar Garciaparra still sits in the dugout. For more on that, here's Chris Myers.
Tom, Nomar will receive medical treatment from the Dodgers staff during the game, available to pinch hit. I talked to him before the game, and he was obviously downbeat, but said don't expect any limping Kirk Gibson heroics from him. But he said expect the Dodger team to respond well. They have all year. 22-year-old James Loney will take over at first, and Grady Little said that showing some confidence here that Loney will do well, and tomorrow he'll put Olmedo Signs at first in the Dodger lineup. That, Tom, is a sign of Dodger confidence.
Absolutely, Chris. Thank you very much. A pleasure to have you with us tonight. Let's look at Willie Randolph's starting lineup for the New York Mets. Brought to you by Hyundai. The electrifying Jose Reyes leads off at short. Paul Lo Duca catches. Carlos Beltran in center field. Carlos Delgado at first had 4 hits in the opener. David Wright
A 12-game hitting streak to end the regular season. He's hit in each of the first 2 games of this series. Will be at third. Cliff Floyd in left. Sean Green, the former Dodger, gets a nod in right. Another former Dodger, Jose Valentin, at second. And Steve Trachsel is on the mound. 15-game winner, a future Hall of Famer, is 40-year-old Greg Maddux. You see his numbers this year between the Cubs and the Dodgers, and his postseason numbers. And his scouting report brought to you by your Exxon and Mobil retailers.
He deserves more than 3 points. However, he is an illusionist. The illusion of a strike. He's done that for years and years and years with that great finger pressure. With 2 strikes, he comes in on left-handed hitters because he has uncanny senses on the mound.
Budweiser, this is baseball. This is beer. And we are ready for Game 3 in front of a sellout crowd at Dodger Stadium. They drew more than 3.7 million fans this summer. The 21st time in Dodger history they've drawn over 3 million in a year. Reyes digging in against Greg Maddux. First pitch swinging, fly ball, deep right center field, but room for Kenny Lofton. 1 pitch, 1 out, and we are underway in Los Angeles. Take a look at the Dodgers on defense. They have not played well on the defensive side in this series. Lofton flanked by Marlon Anderson again in left field. J.D. Drew in right. Betamit and Furcal on the left side. Kent and Loney, the big change over at first. Martin hanging the signs for the 15-time Gold Glove winning right-hander Greg Maddux. Paul Lo Duca came up through the Dodgers organization. Spent 6 years in the minor leagues before getting to the big league club, and has been an all-star as a Dodger and this year as a New York Met. Lo Duca 3 hits in 8 at-bats, 1 RBI so far in the series. Hit .318 during the regular year with 5 home runs and 49 knocked in. 2-0.
The Duke enormously popular on both coasts. Not only in New York as their catcher, but formerly, of course, with the Dodgers. 3 years ago, this guy can flat out hit.
Maddux not getting that call on a borderline pitch there from tonight's home plate umpire Eric Cooper. That's certainly something to keep an eye on as this game continues. Will Maddux get the borderline strike?
Absolutely.
That looked like the same pitch as 2-0, but that one's a strike. There's our entire umpiring crew, and it's a good one. 3-1 on Paul Lo Duca. And it's ball 4 out the outside corner, and Maddux already a long look in at the home plate umpire. How about our keys for tonight's game, brought to you by MasterCard, Mr. McCarver?
Can the Mets continue that relentless, balanced attack? They won the first game on some bad base running by the Dodgers. 4 hits by Carlos Delgado, and then Indy Chavez playing a big part in Game 2. Dodgers trying to use Greg Maddux in the home crowd here in Los Angeles.
Strike called on the outside corner to Carlos Beltran. Beltran during the regular year 41 home runs to tie a New York Mets franchise record. Knocked in 116. He's hitless in 5 at bats so far in this series. That ball driven into right center field. J.D. Drew leaves his feet, cannot get it. Lofton backing up the play. Lo Duca making a turn, going to third. Throw there, he is out at third. Lo Duca had to wait to see if Drew would catch the ball. And by the time he took the gamble to go to third, you're running on 2 good arms, especially that of Furcal at short.
Off the end of the bat. The one thing a base runner does is check the outfielders. Lo Duca did that, but stopping right before he went to second base. Kenny Lofton hitting the cutoff man, and Furcal with a laser to third to nail Lo Duca. With only 1 out, it's the time you want to take the chance. But once you've stopped, you've got to stop at second base. Easy out was Lo Duca at third.
So 2 away, a runner on at first, and there's Carlos Delgado, who waited 1,711 games played in the big leagues before his first taste of the postseason. And all he did in Game 1 was collect 4 base hits. Big shift put on defensively for Delgado. Now remember, we've seen him hit the ball already in this series a couple of times the other way.
3 of the 4 hits in game 1 were either through the middle or the other way. The home run was to center field.
Want to know to Delgado. And it's on the outside corner, a called strike, and now Delgado has words with home plate umpire Eric Cooper.
Nice recovery by Kenny Lofton, backing up the play, hitting the relay man, Rafael Furcal, and Loduca was out at third base.
One and one on Carlos Delgado, a big lead by Beltran. He took off and then stopped. And it's through the shift into right field to hit. And Beltran this time will easily advance on to third. So after getting Reyes on the first pitch of the game on a fly ball to center, Maddox has walked a batter and allowed consecutive singles.
Third baseman, number 5, David Wright.
James Loney holding the runner on at first base. And this ball hit by Loney with Beltran going to third base easily. I know what you're thinking. Had Loduca not made the out at third base, but it doesn't work like that. Had Loduca not made the third out at third base, that ground ball would have been right to James Loney because he would have been playing back.
Runners on the corners for David Wright. Young man from Chesapeake, Virginia, has done nearly everything right since being brought up through the Mets minor league system. He is some kind of player at the plate and in the field. And what a kid. Jam shot floater, and that is a base hit into left field. It'll bring in Beltran from third, and the Mets have taken a 1-0 lead on a 2-out single by David Wright.
And David Wright's theory on that, hit the ball before it hits you. That ball was about 6 inches inside. Hit right off the handle. And David Wright finds a hole. That's that part of that relentless attack of the Mets. They come at you with a very balanced attack, great speed, great power, great on-base percentage, tough offense.
Only the Cleveland Indians this season scored more runs in the first inning than the New York Mets. Mets scored 131 first inning runs, and they're at it in game 3 against Maddox here tonight. Cliff Floyd down a strike. 2 hits and 7 at-bats in this division series, including a solo home run. And by the way, our broadcast also available in Spanish tonight by utilizing the SAP button on your television. Down and away from Floyd, and he's behind 0-2. It should be noted, the Indians scored the most first inning runs in baseball. The Mets second, the Dodgers were third. Served into short left field, coming hard and unable to get there is Anderson. Rounding third and coming in to score Delgado, another 2-out hit by the Mets. And they jump on Maddox for 2 runs here in the opening frame.
I think Marlon Anderson gave up on that ball too quickly. That ball had a lot more hang time than he thought. Remember the 0-1 pitch? Floyd swung through it. Maddox going right back out there. I think Marlon Anderson, had he charged hard initially, he makes that play, but pulling up right there, that ball had more hang time. And Marlon fooled on the ball, perhaps.
5 straight hitters have reached base since Maddox got Reyes on a fly ball to center field to start the opening inning. And now the former Dodger, Shawn Green, who grew up in nearby Tustin, California, looks at a strike. Green had his best seasons in the major leagues wearing Dodger blue. They moved him to Arizona prior to last year. And then the Diamondbacks traded him to the New York Mets at the deadline this year. 0-2. And this is where, so far anyway, Maddox has been unable to put away the batters with 2 strikes.
0-2 to Cliff Floyd. Now 0-2 to Shawn Green.
Green has monster numbers in his career against Maddox, and there you see him. In the air and out of play. Maddox acquired by the Dodgers from the Cubs on July the 31st. That was the trading deadline for Cesar Izturis. A 15-game winner between both teams. As a Dodger, he made 12 starts, went 6-3 with a 3.3 ERA. Has won 333 games in his career. Served into left field, and Anderson cannot get it. Another 2-strike, 2-out hit by the Mets. This one by Shawn Green. It is 3-0 New York.
Terrific hitting by Shawn Green, the former Dodger,
Jose Valentin.
who is not hiding the fact that this series means a lot more to him than it does to some of the other Mets. Because Shawn, being a former Dodger, saying it's a little sweeter after you've been traded from the club that you were with for a long, long time. That's just good hitting by Cliff Floyd and Shawn Green. 2 strikes, you're supposed to protect the outside part of the plate. Both of them did that and reap big rewards. Look at the head right there. The head right on the fastball away from Maddox. Ball might have been off the plate a bit. Fine hitting by Green.
And the former #1 pick, the most highly touted pitching prospect to come up through the Dodgers organization in quite some time, Chad Billingsley, beginning to crank it up in the bullpen. Eighth man to bat in the opening inning. 6 in a row have reached base since Jose Reyes led off the game with a fly ball to center field. They cut down LaDuca, who had walked, trying to go first to third on the single by Beltran. Since then, singles from Delgado, Wright, Floyd, and Green for a 3-0 lead. 1-1 to Jose Valentin, another former Dodger.
Valentin, a great pickup by general manager Omar Minaya, a guy who has really sewn this Mets defense together.
Caught by Loney on a rocket up the first base line. So Maddox, a bumpy opening inning, and trails 3-0. In the top of the first inning, the Dodgers coming up. And Grady Little's starting lineup is brought to you by Hyundai. Rafael Furcal leads off at short. Kenny Lofton in center. Marlon Anderson in the 3-hole plays left. Jeff Kent at second base. J.D. Drew in right. Russell Martin behind the plate. A ladder third of Wilson Bettamy, James Loney, and Greg Maddux. And on the mound, 15-game winner despite a very high ERA during the regular season, Steve Traxel. And his pitching profile is brought to you by your Exxon and Mobil retailer.
He has finally arrived after 380 starts. No active pitcher has that many starts during the regular season without a postseason appearance. So here he is, finally. Slow, a very slow worker, but very effective at times. His splitter's his strikeout pitch.
Of course, the closest thing he has come to a playoff start, and really it was a playoff start, was in 1998. He had to pitch the one-game playoff to get the Chicago Cubs into the playoffs when he beat the Giants at Wrigley Field.
Right.
For a call, 1 of 7 in the series. And as many of you know that have watched the Dodgers this season, when Furcal and Lofton are getting on base, they have been almost impossible to beat. When they don't get on base, they have been handled rather easily. Furcal swings and pops it up behind the plate, and it's out of play. Furcal during the regular season, a .300 batter, 15 home runs, 63 runs batted in, and stole 37 bases.
And scored 113 runs to lead the Dodgers.
Traxel rocks, kicks, and delivers. And a fastball misses in. 2-1 on for Cole. Playing his first postseason wearing Dodger blue. After being there every year, he played in Atlanta. 3 balls and a strike. Now, Timmy, what's the first thing to look for when a guy has had such a long time between outings, as is the case with Steve Traxel tonight?
I guess it'd be appropriate to say wildness. Here he is behind 3-1 for a call. Hard to say. I mean, during the regular season, he falls behind a lot of hitters anyway. Willie Randolph even saying, Randolph telling us that it's very difficult to tell whether Traxel's out of sync because he pitches behind a lot. The very fact that it is 3-1 may not be a sign of nerves or anything like that, particularly as Rick Peterson, the pitching coach, looks on, but particularly with the 3-run lead here in the first.
Strike 3 called for Cole. Didn't like it. We asked Steve Traxel the question after the lengthy delay. Anything to look for that might cause him a problem early in the game tonight?
A lot of times, yeah. Sometimes you're strong early. You know, especially you'll see like my split or my changeup will be a couple miles an hour harder than it normally is, and you know when it does that they straighten out. So you know the big key is to not be that strong, which is like I threw an extra bullpen, and a little bit longer, so. Those things, hopefully they work out, and my stuff's in its normal range.
Now Kenny Lofton, he looks at strike 1.
Talk about it so often in postseason baseball. Your natural inclination is to step forward, but the experience teaches you to step back, take a step back, and that's what Traxel's trying to do right now. It's what everybody's trying to do.
Lofton hitless in 8 at-bats so far during this division series and make it in 9 at-bats. This one in the air, routine for David Wright. So here we go again, if you're a Dodger fan, for Cole and Lofton set down to begin the opening inning.
How about it? Left fielder, number 21.
Take a look at the New York Mets on defense. It will be Beltran in center, flanked by Floyd and Sean Green. David Wright and Jose Reyes. Boy, what a left side of the infield for this year, and many, many more to come. Valentin and Delgado on the right. Traxel and Loduca, the battery. Now Marlon Anderson bangs one into right field, a base hit, and that's all he's done since coming over from the Nationals. He wrestled away the left field job from Andre Ethier, hitting 7 home runs in just 64 at-bats after the deal.
Not wasting any time, chose a fastball from Traxel, rifles it into right field for the Dodgers' first hit.
Now here's one of the very few Dodgers that have swung the bat well in this series. Jeff Kent. The other, Wilson Bettamy. Kent 4 hits and 8 at-bats. A one-time New York Met, has become the greatest slugging second baseman in the history of the game. 8 years, has knocked in over 100 runs and has more career home runs as a second baseman than any at that position. Ball 1.
Started his career with the Toronto Blue Jays, went to the Mets in the David Cone trade in the early 90s, a short time in Cleveland, and then to the San Francisco Giants, the Houston Astros, and now with the Dodgers. Hey, I saw him when he was a young second baseman, Tommy. I had no idea that he would end up with this type of career. He really deserves a lot of credit.
On the ground to David Wright. He'll throw across the diamond. The throw pulls Delgado off the bag. A rare mistake by David Wright.
And a very careless mistake, too. Kent, not a fast runner. Wright having too much time at third base.
And often, when infielders have a lot of time, they have a tendency to think before they throw. Can't safe it first. Most of Wright's errors this year have come on throwing errors.
Now J.D. Drew, who hit 20 home runs during the regular season with a career-high 100 runs batted in. Only 1 of 8 in this series. The Dodgers were the best hitting team in the National League with runners in scoring position this year. However, in this division series, they only have 4 hits in 17 such at-bats. Slow roller to the right side, and Delgado will flip to Trachsel, and that will end the inning. 2 hits, or 2 men left, 1 hit and an error. Maddux and the Dodgers. Mets come to bat here in the top half of the 2nd inning, leading Greg Maddux and the Dodgers 3-0. Steve Trachsel looks at a strike. Hey, remember on Thursday night's game when we showed you these pictures? Steve Lyons and I couldn't figure out what on earth that device was, a digital camera, a video game, maybe a set of binoculars. Well, we found out the gentleman, Stephen Teitelbaum from Long Island, is wearing what is known as a Geordie. Stephen is blind, and it allows him about 15% is what he has vision in one eye. It allows him to see the game better than he otherwise would. And Mr. Teitelbaum has been a 22-year Mets season ticket holder. And so we have that mystery cleared up. And Mr. Teitelbaum from Long Island, kudos to being such a great fan, and I am sincerely sorry for our comments if they offended you, your family, or your friends the other night. That's my fault, and I'm sorry. We spoke on the phone yesterday, and we'll look forward to seeing you again, I'm sure, before this year is over at Shea Stadium.
Well done.
One and 2 the count, and it's taken outside to Trachsel. See the numbers this season for Trachsel: 1 home run, a 140 batting, and a bouncer over the mound, but plenty of time for Kent. 1 away. That'll bring up Jose Reyes. What a year. The 6th player ever to lead the major leagues in both triples and stolen bases. The first since Lou Brock. Timmy mentioned 122 runs scored at career highs in hits, home runs, RBIs, 64 steals. Hit for the cycle in a game and had a 3 home run game. He can do it all. Loney can't find a handle. Look at Maddux get to the bag, but apparently a little bit late. Loney is generally as sure-handed as they come at first. He is a terrific defender. But tonight is his first playoff appearance, so maybe the butterflies.
Yeah, he had a good hop to handle. Ball hitting the heel of the glove. Now he can't find it. Maddux over there in a hurry. Very close, but Reyes beats it. Ooh. Looked like Maddox's right foot was on the bag before Reyes. One more look. Bang. Very close. But it looked like Maddux beat him.
And I suspect we're going to see Reyes off to the races very soon. There is only one team that has just dominated Greg Maddux in his Hall of Fame career, and that's the Arizona Diamondbacks. In Maddox's career against Arizona, he is 1-9 with an ERA of over 5. And in every one of those games, going back to when Bob Brenly was the manager in Arizona, through Bob Melvin this year, they ran. And they pitch out here, and they cut down Reyes. And in getting to Maddux, if you don't pitch out as they did there, you can run on him.
That's about the only thing that you can do against Greg Maddux. The Dodgers guessing right. fine throw by Martin on the pitch out, and a quick tag by Furcal.
Looked like a tough pitch for Martin to handle.
Might have been too low. Might have been too low. Pitch outs are designed pitches. And Reyesen out at second base. Caught 17 times during the regular season.
1-2 on Lo Duca. And hit with that pitch. Not sure where it got him.
Lo Duca wearing protection on that left elbow. This ball looked like it got him in the tricep, the left tricep. No way for Lo Duca to get out of the way of that fastball from Maddox.
To finish the thought on Arizona's success on Maddox through the years. Arizona's never been a big stolen base sort of team, even in their championship year of '01. But they would hit and run on what seemed like every single pitch that Maddox would throw with a runner at first. And I've seen every one of those games that Maddox has pitched against Arizona, and it is astounding. The first to third merry-go-round using the hit and run. They let Beltran swing the bat, and the force play will end the inning. An error, one man left, middle of the second. The Mets lead 3-0. Steve Trachsel set to begin the bottom half of the second inning. The Mets got him 3 runs before he ever took the mound. Grady Little, Rick Honeycutt, Greg Maddux talking things over, and now Grady wants a bird's eye view of the Dodgers' second inning. Rookie catcher Russell Martin to start things off. Into right center field, it'll fall, a base hit. Martin has had astounding success hitting here at Dodger Stadium this year. He has really struggled on the road. But here at home, he's been wearing it out since they brought him up to take over for the injured Dioner Navarro, and Navarro never got his job back.
How do you explain that to your grandchildren? Dad, or Granddad, what did you do your first postseason at bat? Well, I singled into a double play, which is what Martin did with Ken on at second base and J.D. Drew on at first. Both runners thrown out at home, and it will be shown over and over and over. A 9-4, 2-2 double play.
They just call it the play.
The play. Astounding.
Wilson Betemit came over from Atlanta. Right around the trade deadline, and what a pickup he's turned out to be. 3 hits and 4 at bats so far in this postseason for Wilson Betemit. Always a highly touted prospect with the Atlanta Braves organization, but he had nowhere to play. That put Chipper Jones in front of him. And there's a strike. In game 2 at Shea Stadium in the 8th inning, he accounted for their only run of the game. A solo home run off Aaron Heilman. Betemit's first career postseason home run in his 6th career postseason at bat. Fly ball into short left field. Cliff Floyd is there for the first out in the inning.
For the Dodgers, first baseman.
Grady Little during the offseason brought on board as Dodger manager by first-year general manager Ned Colletti. Said one of the primary reasons, besides being a real good baseball man and a good baseball manager, Ned Colletti said he tried everything he could in the interview to get Grady Little to bash the Boston Red Sox and the whole experience, which led to his firing after his second year there. Grady Little would never say a word about it, except I'm grateful for the opportunity in Boston, and I'd go to work to manage in Boston again if they wanted me to. Took the high road. Ball 1 down low to James Loney. Now, Timmy, I know you were at that Game 7 of that 2003 American League Championship Series when Grady Little left Pedro Martinez in the game.
Right.
I mean, I look back on it remembering that Boston bullpen, and I say Pedro was the right man for the job. But boy, he took a lot of heat and they wound up taking his job. This should be a double play ball, but Reyes steps on the bag and turns it into 2. How about the athleticism by the amazing Jose Reyes?
After slipping.
We go to the
What a terrific play by Jose Reyes, who once he makes the play behind second base, he slips and then has the wherewithal to crawl towards second, step on the bag, and make a strong throw. So a 6-3 double play to end the second inning.
Carlos Delgado, first pitch swinging to begin the third. A ground ball to Jeff Kent, 1 pitch, 1 out. David Wright coming up, and for more on him, here's Chris Myers.
Hey, Tom, you talked about how he was doing everything right. Well, in the latest People magazine that calls David Wright the latest heartthrob, has a picture of him, calls him young, hip, and handsome. I asked him about it before the game. He said, please don't show any of my teammates. They will brutally tease me. So we're just showing a national audience. He said it's one of the perks of playing in New York, getting this kind of attention. But he's seen the other side of things, having talked to Aaron about that. I don't want you guys to think I'm reading a People magazine, by the way, in the middle of your broadcast.
Well, we know you are. We saw it stick at your sport coat as we were leaving the managers meeting today.
Well, Tommy Glavine, among others, has told David Wright that, David, don't get too excited about it. It's the uniform, not you.
Sure. Well, he is just such an engaging young man, as David Wright. We told the story the other night about how he grew up. His father, a captain in the Norfolk Police Department, and he grew up just down the road in Chesapeake, Virginia. Was a very serious athlete and a very serious student. You can tell he got a dynamite upbringing from his family.
Oh, absolutely.
And he has worn out the Dodgers in his very young career, in the regular season or the postseason, without hitting a home run. In the air, right center field. Lofton is there for the second out.
Batting next, left fielder, Cliff Floyd.
Well, now, if the Dodgers win tonight and send it to a Game 4, ESPN will televise the Padres and the Cardinals Game 4 from Busch Stadium. St. Louis losing for the first time in that series earlier today. And we would have Game 4 here from Dodger Stadium at 8 o'clock tomorrow night. If the Mets win this game and end this division series, then Timmy, you and I will make our way to St. Louis, Missouri for a Game 4 mañana. And that'll be at 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 o'clock Pacific. What an outing today by Mr. Young as the Padres got their first win in that best-of-5 series.
Chris Young over Jeff Suppan this afternoon. Well-pitched game on both ends. San Diego winning its first postseason game this year.
One and one, the count on Cliff Floyd. And that misses inside. Of course, San Diego, a 3-1 winner. Russell Branyan, a big 2-run base hit in that one for the Padres. And how about the Detroit Tigers? Congratulations to Jim Leyland and all those in the Motor City. They lose the opener and win 3 in a row as the Yankees in their last 23 innings outscored 17-3. Shot into left field, a base hit by Floyd.
And during one 20-inning stretch, 20 consecutive innings where the Yankees failed to score. And everybody, I mean, obviously talking about that powerful Yankee lineup. And here the Detroit Tigers and Jim Leyland beating the Yankees in 4 games. Remarkable.
Sort of ironic, we're talking about the American League. Generally, you talk about the American League, you think of the big sluggers and scoring lots of runs. The Yankees certainly a case in point. But if you love pitching, and especially young pitching, then that American League Championship Series is right up your alley.
Well, I should say, with the Oakland Athletics hosting the Detroit Tigers next week.
Oh, and one account on Sean Green. And a fly ball pretty well hit in the deep left field. Going back to the wall is Anderson.
And it is up against the wall. On his way to third, being waved home is Floyd, as Sean Green is knocked in his second run of the game. And he makes it 4-0. That one just missed getting out of here the other way.
Looked like it hit the top of the wall. I couldn't tell whether it hit Anderson's glove or the top of the wall. Yeah, it hit the top of the wall. Anderson never laid leather on it. And Cliff Floyd, I think Willie Randolph is out to talk that maybe that ball was a home run, but it did not appear. It hits right on the top of the wall and bounces back into fair territory. Cliff Floyd, on the other hand, injuring that left Achilles heel. That has given him problems all year long, scoring and limping home for the Mets' 4th run. Grimacing after the slide.
And Sean Green continues his red-hot hitting against Greg Maddux, and they're looking at Floyd down in the New York dugout.
Floyd running well right there, and it appears when he rounds second. Well, nope, rounding third. That's when that Achilles gave out on him, and we could have seen the last of Cliff Floyd in this ball game.
Floyd on the disabled list twice this season. Back in June with a sprained left ankle, and then in August with tendonitis in the left Achilles. For the intentional walk issue to Valentine, it'll bring Traxel to the plate, as Floyd still being tended to in that Mets first base side dugout. And he's hurting.
Yeah, he really is. Plus, if you're the Mets, you can't take a chance on an outfielder who may miss a ball because of limping, particularly when, as your 4th outfielder, you have a guy like Endy Chavez, who is a terrific defensive player. If the game's tied or if the Mets are behind, you'd have more of an inclination to leave Cliff in the game. But with a 4-run lead, you can't take a chance defensively with a guy like Chavez, who is at least as good an outfielder as they have defensively.
1-1 account on Steve Traxel. Willie Randolph told us he thought Endy Chavez might be the best defensive outfielder in the entire National League.
Wow.
One account on Steve Traxel. Of course, the Dodgers without one of their big guns just before the game tonight. Nomar Garciaparra was named the National League's Comeback Player of the Year, but he's been hurting for the last couple of weeks with a badly torn quad muscle, about a 50% tear in there. And if he further injures it, it would require surgery. Ground ball down to third, and Bettamy just did beat Green to the bag. Doesn't look like Cliff Floyd's coming back. Helping us promote the postseason on Fox, Endy Chavez takes over in left field for the injured Cliff Floyd. I'm sure Chris Myers will keep us up to date on that injury to Floyd if some information is passed along to him in that Mets dugout. So Greg Maddux trailing 4-0 leads off the third. Floyd had to be helped up, and underneath here at Dodger Stadium you have to walk up probably about 15 or 20 steps to get up into the clubhouse area.
Tommy, I do not think that Greg Maddux should be leading off the third inning. I think you got to pinch hit for him. You're trailing by 4 runs. Every out is so precious, and it's very difficult for a manager like Grady Little to take a guy like Greg Maddux out of the game. And that brings us back to the point you brought up last inning, whether to remove Pedro Martinez. With guys with the reputations of Greg Maddux, Pedro Martinez, Roger Clemens, it's very difficult for them to be removed from a game. And they almost have to remove themselves. And that's the point you brought up last inning about Pedro. But I think Greg Maddux has got to be pinch hit for right here, leading off the third inning. The Mets have 8 hits in 3 innings. If he were pitching effectively, obviously there'd be no problem. But trailing by 4, the clincher if the Mets win. I think he got a pinch hit here.
Maddox gone on strikes. We go back to that Game 7 in the 0-3 ALCS. Yankees in the Red Sox 8th inning. 1 out. Boston leading 5-3. Yankees had runners at second and third. Pedro Martinez, 118 pitches left him in the game. Jorge Posada tied the game with a little flair.
He tied it on a jam shot. And naturally, Brady Little took the fall. But my point is, you know, the greater the prestige of the pitcher, the tougher it is to remove it. It was tough to remove Pedro then and Maddox now.
Now Rafael for Cole. Looks at a strike. He looked at strike 3 on a 3-2 pitch that he did not agree with home plate umpire Eric Cooper on in the opening inning. One and one account on Rafael for a call, and a breaking ball drops on the outside corner, a called strike. A beauty.
It's a typical Steve Traxel game. Very methodical, a slow worker, but great stuff.
Tried to double up on that hook on the outside corner and miss. Two-two pitch. 3-2. At one time, many felt Steve Traxel would become the next Greg Maddux, coming up through the Cubs organization. Very talented. Had a lot of success early on in his career, and he has issued a 1-out walk 2 for Cole. Will this get the Dodger offense started? Baseball tonight. Of course, tomorrow, Fox NFL Sunday returns with a big doubleheader, starting with America's #1 pregame show live from Philadelphia at noon Eastern, 9 Pacific. It'll be the Redskins and the Giants, and then T.O. returns to Philadelphia. The Cowboys and the Eagles are other regional action. Noon Eastern, 9 Pacific. It begins tomorrow right here on Fox. That is the first walk of the night issued by Traxel. And here's Kenny Lofton.
One of the more maddening things for managers to deal with is when a pitcher has a 4-run lead, a 3-run lead, a 5-run lead, to walk a batter, particularly a guy who can run like Furcal. Because now you've got him on first, your attention's diverted, you're starting to throw over there.
And obviously, when a man is at first base, you got to hold him on, which creates a big hole on the right side of the infield for the left-handed batting Kenny Lofton.
Right.
Lofton playing for his 10th different major league team. It's his 6th different team that he's played for in the postseason, joining David Wells as the most appearances ever with 6 different teams.
I was reading an article the other day talking about David Wells the day before he pitched the other day. The Cardinals beat him 2-0. The day before he pitched, he left the park on a skateboard.
He's something.
That's Boomer.
San Diego Kid.
Yes, sir.
Check swing roller foul on a pitch down in the zone off the bat of Lofton. 1-1. Lofton has been to the World Series twice in his career, with Cleveland back in '95 and the Atlanta Braves in the Giants, I'm sorry, in 2002.
Steve Trachsel, we talked about him being methodical from the windup. When runners get on base, he's even slower. Cloyingly slow.
Swung on and fouled out of play. Well, through the years, Kenny Lofton with Cleveland, 5 different playoff appearances. Atlanta in '97, they lost in the LCS. Giants in '02 fell to the Angels in the World Series. Set the table for the Cubs in '03, with the Yankees in '04, and now with the Dodgers here in '06. Trachsel like that right there, oftentimes throws over there for what appears to be no reason whatsoever.
That's his 4th time that he's thrown to first base. And remember, folks, he has a 4-run lead, and that's the point. You divert your attention away from the guy with the bat in his hand.
2-2 to Lofton. Popped up. Short right field. Sean Green is there for the second out of the inning. So Kenny Lofton 0 for 2 tonight, 0 for 10 in this division series.
Now batting, left fielder, number 21, Marlon Anderson.
Now to bring up Marlon Anderson, who singled into right field, his only time up. Anderson 3 of 9 with an RBI in this division series. Those numbers are why Marlon Anderson unseated the youngster Andre Ethier as a Dodger everyday left fielder. Through June, July, and August, there was not a better hitter in all of baseball than Andre Ethier. Young man from Phoenix, Arizona, looked like he was going to be the National League's Rookie of the Year. And then for whatever reason, he stopped hitting. Anderson got the chance and hasn't stopped hitting. And Brady Little, like many managers, Timmy, they're going to play the hot hand.
Now, you've got to do that in the playoffs, particularly first round, best 3 out of 5. Mets on top, 2 games to nothing. You wonder if Trachsel gives up a couple of runs, if Willie Randolph will be as quick with the hook as he was with John Maine in game 1. John only going 4 1/3 innings. Pitched very, very well. Standing ovation from the crowd at Shea.
There goes for a call. Got a tremendous jump. Throw to second base is not in time. Cole has his 2nd stolen base in this division series. He had 37 during the regular season.
Paulo Duca did what he could. The throw was quickly released, but Furcal would have been in there anyway. Right into your living room.
Reyes may have been shaken up on that play a little bit. It looked like the helmet for a call went right into his left knee.
Favoring that left knee. One more look at it, and that's exactly what happened, Tom. Watch the helmet coming up, ramming into the left knee of Jose Reyes.
One and one on Marlon Anderson, a scoring chance now for the Dodgers against Trachsel here in the last of the 3rd. Dodgers trailing in this one 4-0. And they're down 2 games to none in this best-of-5 division series. Every time they get a runner in scoring position now, they need a base hit in the worst sort of way. And they're not going to get it from Anderson. 1 man left, end of 3, 4-0 Mets.
Departed right there. That's exactly what the Dodgers are hopeful of not happening to them after tonight's action.
Pulled on the ground to begin the inning off the bat of Reyes. They've done a nice job on him tonight. He did reach on the air by Loney his last time up.
Catcher, Paul
But this
Lo Duca.
is some kind of lineup for the New York Mets. We were talking about it with Grady Little before the ball game. He said it reminds him of many that you see over in the American League.
It's such balance, such contact. Lo Duca, contact hitter. Reyes with the great speed. Delgado and Beltran with the great power, along with David Wright. Cliff Floyd, who's out of the game now, replaced by Indy Chavez. Indy has done a terrific job for the Mets also. And then with the pickup of Sean Green and the year Jose Valentin has had, there are no soft spots in the Mets lineup.
Lo Duca has been on base twice. Drew a walk in the first inning, was trying to go first to third on a base hit by Beltran in that opening frame, was thrown out by Furcal on the relay throw from Kenny Lofton. And then Lo Duca hit in the back of the left shoulder by Maddox in the second inning. The Mets with 3 runs, 5 hits in the opening inning. A run on 2 hits in the third, a comebacker to Maddox. 2 away. Here is tonight's game summary brought to you by Verizon. That's getting those 3 runs in the opening inning. 4 of the hits came after 2 men were out. Cliff Floyd leading in the 3rd inning. And Greg Maddux really struggling here tonight.
Well, the Mets are doing such a terrific job with 2 strikes in particular in handling Maddux, going the other way with him.
That one just ate up Beltran and on his hands, and Loney with room. And a 1-2-3 inning for Maddux, his first of the night. Kent trying to get the Dodgers going when we return. Willie Randolph and the Mets with a 4-0 lead after 3.5 at Dodger Stadium. And Steve Traxel throwing the ball very well. Timmy, you brought up early on that Traxel had not started a game since September the 24th. He had to fly back here to California, leaving the club earlier in the week. Missed his final start of the year to attend to some family business. But he looks to have good command tonight, throwing a lot of strikes.
He's walked only 1, and the impressive thing is he's getting the breaking ball over behind in the count. Something other than the predictable fastball.
Jeff Kent to lead things off. And looks at strike 1 on the outside corner. Kent to be followed by J.D. Drew. And then Russell Martin. And Kent really unhappy about that call. Thought the pitch was down and away. Same spot.
First pitch he didn't like, the curveball. That was a strike. Remember, it's not where the catcher catches the ball, it's where it goes over home plate. Jeff still complaining with home plate umpire Eric Cooper.
Kent reached on a throwing error by David Wright in the opening inning. The only inning so far the Dodgers have had more than 1 base runner against Steve Traxel. Well, you look at the starting pitcher comparison, all in Traxel's favor so far.
Steve Traxel successful against the Dodgers today. Rafael Furcal and Kenny Lofton have been up twice. And they've been on base only one time. Sparkling play by Jose Reyes. Get the Dodgers in the third.
2-2 now to Kent. This is not a power-laden team, this Dodger club, even with Nomar Garciaparra in the lineup. Clearly, they love to have his back. But not a team that flexes its muscles. Although Kent, here in the postseason, is doing what he has to do. That's his 5th base hit in 10 at-bats. We caught up with Willie Randolph moments ago and asked him how he sees Traxel from the first base side dugout.
Well, he's doing an outstanding job right now. He's, you know, just hitting his spots, and he's got a nice curveball going for himself tonight, too. But he seems really focused. I like his body language. Seems like he's coming after hitters and hitting his spots like he can. Willie, you were visiting with a trainer a moment ago. Any word on Cliff Floyd? Well, not yet. You know, he strained his ankle. It's been like that for a while, off and on all year. But he must have tweaked it going around the bases. Willie, thanks for the time. Okay, guys. Thanks.
We have just found out it's a stretched left Achilles. As J.D. Drew looks at ball one low and away. We mentioned this year a left ankle sprain landed Floyd on the DL earlier back in June. Then the Achilles tendonitis in the left Achilles in August. One 1-0 to J.D. Drew. Only one hit and 9 at-bats in a series for Drew. Knocked in 100 runs during the regular year. Drew, enormously talented, has had a hard time getting on the field throughout his career. A number of knee surgeries. But boy, a pile of talent. And this year stayed healthy. Played in nearly 150 games and had his best year in the big leagues.
Runs throughout the Drew family.
Indeed. J.D. drafted in the same year in the first round as his brother Tim. And his little brother Steven. Boy, is he something. Young shortstop in Arizona. Man, can he play. 2-1 to J.D. Drew.
Traxel gets the call. That is a very close fastball. You saw Kent arguing with Eric Cooper, the home plate umpire, and now J.D. Drew. He rarely argues. See, there's no sense to throw to first base right there. Jeff Kent's going nowhere. Got a 4-run lead and you try to use that. I mean, Steve Traxel's pitching like it's a tie game, or like the Dodgers going to hit and run. You don't put hit and runs on when you're 4 runs down.
2-1 off the outside corner. 3 balls and a strike. You saw the big left-hander Mark Hendrickson getting loose in the Dodger bullpen. Mets starting pitching has been dynamite so far in this division series. Only 1 earned run allowed. 3-1. And Drew thought it was ball 4. Another low strike.
So the 2-0 pitch was borderline. This is borderline. But again, Traxel gets the call.
Three-2 on J.D. Drew. Off the end of the bat. He'd like to have it back. Sean Green is there for the first out of the inning.
That looked like a splitter to Drew. One of Traxel's strengths is that he will throw any pitch. Nope, it was a fastball. So a fastball, and Drew appeared to be looking for it, but as you said, Tom, just a little too quick and hit it off the end of the bat.
That'll bring up Russell Martin, who singled into right center field his first time up.
Seems to me that with the Mets bullpen as strong as it is, one thing Willie Randolph wants out of Steve Traxel is twice through the lineup. You get to the 5th inning, the 6th inning, then you start left and righting the Dodger hitters like Randolph has done the first 2 games.
And what a bullpen it's been for Willie Randolph this season. They're without Duaner Sanchez, their hard-throwing young right-hander who was involved in that taxi cab accident, which ended his season. But Guillermo Mota has found the magic touch again. Deep in the hole at short. Reyes throws high and wide. He had time to plant and throw. That's the catcher running.
You have to wonder if that play by Rafael Furcal didn't take some of the steam out of Reyes' range, and if that left knee's not bothering him. Couldn't find the handle on that ball. The throw is late and high to Delgado, and the Dodgers with something going here.
That is an infield hit for Russell Martin. And here's Bettemy. Dodgers in this series only 5 hits and 20 at bats with runners in scoring position, hitless in their last 7. Bettemy flied out to left, his only time up tonight. Big chance. Ball 1 down low. Because you know that Grady Little, should we get to the pitcher spot in this half inning, will hit for Greg Maddux. So you have Loney on deck. And then a pinch hitter would follow should we get that far. Bettemy 3 for 5 in the series, and a crowd coming to its feet for the first time all night. Traxel falls behind 2-0. And that bullpen might get started very shortly for Willie Randolph. And bodies beginning to stir.
That's bullpen language right there.
Good pitch there on a 2-0. Caught the inside corner, 2-1 to Bettemy.
Good inside fastball from Traxel.
Jeff Kent, the runner at second. Russell Martin on at first. 1 out in the Dodger fourth. 3-1. Whoa, mercy. Called a strike, and Bettemy, along with about 59,000 others, can't believe it.
Well, what made this look like a ball as Bettemy came up with the arms, and that pitch appeared to be inside. Looked like it went around the plate. That's a pitch normally a pitcher would get with 2 strikes, but not with the count 2 balls and a strike.
What a break there for Traxel. The difference between 2-2 and 3-1.
Yep.
May have broken his back. Bettemy taking a look. He did.
Here's that previous 2-1 pitch. Yeah, that ball was inside. Wow. Mets have gotten a lot of breaks this inning on several borderline pitches from Steve Traxel.
Timmy, you've been in the postseason many times back in your playing career. When you're down 2-0 in a best-of-5 and you're trailing 4-0, we're only in the 4th inning. But I would imagine things begin to get tight in that Dodger dugout.
Oh, yeah. If the Dodgers load the bases, they're going to get tight in that Met dugout.
2-2 to Bettemy. 2 on and 1 out. 3-2.
You're trailing by 4 runs. I don't see how you can send the runners here. You'd like to, but the score dictates that you don't do it.
Breaking ball and a 3-2 pitch. Boy, what a gutsy pitch that is by Traxel. Of course, when you have a 4-0 lead and you throw the curveball like he has tonight, why not?
Well, that's Steve Traxel, too. It's almost, and you know this isn't the case, but it's almost as though he intentionally gets behind the hitter so he can work him the way he normally works guys, with breaking balls. He is about as unpredictable a pitcher as there is in the National League.
High fly ball. Again, it looked like off the end of the bat. This might fall. It will. And the bases are loaded. The Dodgers get a break.
Carlos Beltran didn't see that ball. Plus, he was playing too deep to get to it anyway. Off the end of the bat. Valentin going out quickly. Of course, Valentin, a member of the Dodgers last year, understanding that it's tough to see balls in the air here in the gloaming. So the Dodgers get a big break. Ken has to hold up, as does Martin. And both advance when the ball plops into right center.
Rick Peterson will come out and visit Traxel. Now James Loney set a National League rookie record and tied Gil Hodges' franchise record by knocking in 9 runs in a game the final week of the season in Denver. He had a grand slam in the second inning, a 2-run double in the third, a run-scoring single in the fifth, and then in a 2-run home run off Jose Mesa in the sixth. He knocked in 9 runs in 6 innings. Wow. For more on James Loney, one of the highly touted Dodger prospects. Let's send it to Chris Myers.
Yeah, Tom and Tim, I talked to him before the game. He stopped by Nomar's locker, said he wasn't nervous stepping in for Nomar because he did that earlier in the year. And talking about that 9 RBI game, he said, I'm more relaxed when there's men on base. And in that game, when there were men on, I was so relaxed I kept driving him in.
Well, he ought to be very relaxed right now.
They are loaded up. A huge, huge situation for the Dodgers. Knowing how sensational that New York Mets bullpen has been the entire year, as Darren Oliver begins to crank it up in the pen. The Dodgers need to jump on Traxel to have any hope in this series. Line into left center field, a base hit. 2 runs will score. It's bobbled out there by Beltran. And Loney in the second, the rookie has delivered. And he looks relaxed.
Does he ever? He's 22 years old. He had the highest minor league average in baseball this year. He batted .380 with Las Vegas, and no hit this year is more important than this one. Fastball away, the ball off the heel of the glove of Beltran, and the Dodgers close the gap.
Loney played on that Jacksonville team last year in Double-A, which some said might have been the best minor league team at any level in recent memory. They had 5 standout prospects on that team, and they called them the Jacksonville 5 rather than the Jackson 5. Andre Ethier will bat for Greg Maddux.
Well, that's great. I love that story. The Jacksonville 5. Woo!
And now LaDuca sent out to the mound. We may see Darren Oliver coming right now.
Maybe.
Apparently not. Rick Peterson wants to know, is Darren Oliver ready? Andre Ethier out of Arizona State University, and here comes Willie Randolph. They wanted to make sure that Darren Oliver was set to go in that bullpen. So the veteran Oliver will face Ethier, or are the Dodgers going to Olmedo Signs? The Dodgers get a 2-run double off the bat of James Loney, and have cut the New York lead in half, a 4-2 game. And now on a pitch, been around a long time, and has adjusted to the bullpen quite well, Darren Oliver.
You got to think that Willie Randolph wanted Grady Little to make a move here. Normally, when you bring a pitcher in, you want the other manager to waste a hitter. But because Andre Ethier is so adept at hitting left-handed pitchers, he is being left in there by Grady Little.
And this kid can really hit. He just went into a terrible funk at the start of September. First time he's been at the big league level where you play an extra month worth of games rather than you do in the minors. Came over in the deal from Milton Bradley from the Oakland Athletics. Liner caught, throw to third, double play will end the inning.
How about that?
4-2 game back after a break from your local Fox station. The Dodgers right back in it. And to 4, they trail by 2. And now taking over out of the Dodger bullpen. Been a starting pitcher almost the entire year until the last couple of weeks. Came over from Tampa Bay. Left-hander Mark Hendrickson.
Gives the Dodgers the only left-hander in their bullpen against a team that is vulnerable to left-handed pitching. Joe Beimel was taken off the roster because of a cut to his pinky in a New York after-hours place. Said it was a hotel initially. It was proven to be an after-hours place at 2:30 a.m. So the Dodgers with only one left-hander in the bullpen, and against this team, that is very, very tough.
Played a critical role, did Beimel's absence, particularly in Game 1, where they were forced to bring in Brad Penny out of their bullpen, who, by the way, would start Game 4 here tomorrow night. Well, that's a big absence. And that is a very quick way to find yourself pitching somewhere else next year.
Oh, yeah.
Two and two on Delgado. Hendrickson, one of the top left-handers in the American League before coming over in the deal along with Toby Hall on June the 27th. Made 12 starts for the Dodgers. Breaking ball and rolled over by Delgado to Loney. One away. Let's go back to that line drive double play, which ended the 4th.
Runners on at second and third, one out. The play by Darren Oliver, probably the most surprised guy in the ballpark, and David Wright stepping on the bag to end the inning. Nothing whatsoever Betterman could do about that. Steve Traxel quite happy after getting out of having Oliver get out of that jam.
Fastball away to David Wright, who singled and scored in the 3-run opening inning. And Wright flied out to Lofton in the 3rd. 1-1. Hendrickson really struggled coming over to the National League as a starter. A 1-7 record in 12 starts with a 5.32 ERA. Was moved to the bullpen and was very effective out of the Dodger pen. In 10 appearances, only 1 earned run allowed in 10 2/3 innings pitched.
Of all the types of pitchers that hitters hate to face, the taller they are, the worse hitters like to face them. Hendrickson is 6'9". A lot of times it appears that he's releasing the ball right in front of you. Very, very difficult to time.
Of course, Hendrickson played in the NBA.
Yeah.
Played for a number of different teams and then decided to come back to baseball. And it turned out to be a very wise choice. Three and two to David Wright. Fouled away. Well, David Wright, through the years growing up in Chesapeake, Virginia. The Green Run Padres.
All right.
This is Simmons' 5th grade class. The 94 Green Run Pods. Well, he should have been a Padre.
Yeah.
No, that's not Orville and Wilbur. David, Matthew, Danny, Stephen. Three, 2 on the wing. And it's ball 4. Wright takes the one out walk. And you got to keep an eye on him. He did steal 20 bases during the regular season.
Left fielder, number 10, Andy Chavez.
Andy Chavez in game 2 started and was directly involved in the scoring of the first 2 runs of that game. Game won by the Mets 4-1. This guy is a good player.
Willie Randolph told us a story the other night. He'd watch Chavez play with other teams and, swinging from his heels, picked up his front foot like, Sadaharu O used to do, the big Japanese home run king. And Willie looked at him in spring training and said, son, you weigh about 170 pounds. You're not going to be hitting balls in the seats. I want you putting the bat on the ball and utilizing your best weapon, your legs. And Willie said after I had that conversation with him, he took the advice and has had one whale of a year for the New York Mets.
That's what he did against Hong-Chu Kuo to bunt to start off the scoring for the Mets. Went to second base on a pass ball and then ultimately scored after he was moved to third.
1-1 on Chavez, and a throw will send right back to the bag. We're in the top of the 5th inning. The Mets 4 runs, 7 hits, 2 errors. The Dodgers 2 runs, 6 hits, and 1 error. Both starting pitchers out of the game. Maddox 4 innings, allowed all 4 runs earned. Traxel 3 1/3, allowed 6 hits and 2 runs. See if they start the runner here on a 2-1 count. Chavez does put the bat on the ball. Yes, fouled away.
That's something you don't often see, a left-handed batter hitting and running against a left-handed pitcher. But again, it's an idea of Willie Randolph and the confidence he has in Chavez making contact.
Breaking ball, this should be a double play. Furcal will handle it himself, and that's that in the Mets 5th. Top of the order coming up for the Dodgers. They trail by a pair. In the League Division Series, the Mets in front 2-0, and they lead by 2 after 4 1/2. Furcal to begin things against Darren Oliver, trying to butt his way on, and it's a foul ball. Furcal 1 of 8 in the series. He walked and stole a base tonight back in the 3rd. Kenny Lofton on deck, hitless in 10 at-bats during this series.
Did that hitting. Certainly acting as though it did. Now home plate umpire Eric Cooper said no, it didn't.
Grady Little comes sprinting out of the dugout.
Looked like a slider, and the ball looked like it hit him.
Well, I can't wait to see this replay.
Yeah. It appeared to nick him on the right foot or right knee. I think what a home plate umpire has to do is go on the reaction of the hitter, because a hitter can't react that fast to start limping. Hitters are too intent on hitting, maybe on the right side of the ankle. Willie says no. Grady said yes.
And the only vote that matters is Eric Cooper. And he said no. Two and two on for a call, leading off the Dodger fifth. That one nearly hit him. Oliver having a hard time controlling that breaking ball. Well, you just get the feeling. Granted, a long way to go, bottom half of the fifth inning. But as much as Furcal and Lofton have struggled to start this series, this inning appears to be a very big inning for the Dodgers. Because you know what's coming shortly. The mainstays in that Met bullpen. Broken back, one hopper, and Delgado's got it. The bat went further than the ball. Tom Brenneman, Tim McCarver, our entire Fox crew. Chris Myers, part of the broadcast team tonight as well. Game 3 of this National League Division Series. Mets leading in the best of 5, 2 games to none. And they lead 4-2 with nobody on and one out. We're in the bottom of the fifth. Breaking ball misses away to Lofton. Kenny has popped to third and popped to short right. 2-0. Lofton taking all the way. 2 balls and a strike. Bunted, but too close to the mound. And an easy play for Oliver, and Kenny Lofton now 0 for 11 in this division series.
Marlon Anderson.
A reminder, tomorrow America's #1 pregame show will be live in Philadelphia. Our guys take a look at T.O.'s return, and we'll preview a must-win game for both the Giants and the Redskins. Fox NFL Sunday tomorrow, live from Philly, noon Eastern, 9 Pacific, here on Fox. And a combination now for Furcal and Lofton, 1 for 20 in this division series. Strike one on Marlon Anderson.
Yeah, for the middle of the Dodger lineup, they've had no one to drive in. It's that simple.
Jeff Kent so far in this series has 5 base hits in 10 at bats, but every time he comes up there, nobody on. One and one on Marlon Anderson. Breaking ball is a little bit high.
Darren Oliver is scheduled to hit third in the Mets half of the 6th inning. So in all probability, this is the last half inning for Darren Oliver.
2-1 to Anderson. Line into right field, a base hit. So now Kent will come to the plate with a runner at first and 2 out. His Dodgers are down 4-2. Well, yeah, that combination, that primary, quartet of guys down there with Wagner, the closer, Heilman, Roberto Hernandez, Pedro Feliciano. It's a very good group.
Mets not only have great balance in their lineup, but they have balance in their bullpen too, primarily because they have 4 left-handed pitchers in their bullpen.
And I didn't mean to forget about Mota. Hammered into left field. Kent bats with a man aboard and drives him in. is this guy clutch.
Every bit of it.
I mean, there are clutch guys, and then there are clutch guys. Kent, about as good as they come. And the great Sandy Koufax stands and admires that one to tie the game.
It looked like a slider inside. Not for long. We talked about the middle of the lineup not having anybody to drive in. Finally, Kent did, and did.
And there's a base hit into center field by J.D. Drew. So after retiring for Paul and Lofton rather easily to begin the inning, a 2-out single by Anderson, a 2-run big fly by Kent.
Short, quick stroke on an inside cut fastball or slider. They're similar pitches. But Jeff Kent ties it for the Dodgers here in the 5th inning.
Kent has had to battle through so many injuries this year. The very first game of the year, he got hit in the head with a pitch, suffered a mild concussion. Shortly thereafter, injured an oblique muscle as Chad Bradford begins to throw in the New York pen. Kent has just not been right all year. Thus the numbers for him down: 14 home runs, 68 runs batted in. But since getting healthy about the 2nd week of August, he has been red hot and has carried it right into this postseason. And Willie Randolph has seen enough of Darren Oliver. Chad Bradford comes on to face Martin. Kent, a 2-run homer to tie the game. Jeff Kent, a game-tying 2-run home run here in the 5th inning. And now he looks on as J.D. Drew follows that with a base hit. Russell Martin coming to the plate against right-hander Chad Bradford. Like many other Met relievers, what a year for Bradford.
Used in limited roles, 70 games, however, did Chad appear this year.
The Dodgers took a 1-0 lead after 3 innings in Game 1 of this division series. Since that time, they have gone 20 innings without a lead. A chance to change that right now. Martin 2 for 2 in the game.
Sometimes you bait your own trap. Darren Oliver having great success against Rafael Furcal with that slider, the cut fastball inside. He tried to do it with Jeff Kent, and Kent didn't miss it.
Nothing at 2 on Russell Martin. Mets have a left-hander up now in their bullpen. The aforementioned Pedro Feliciano. You have Betterman in the on-deck circle, who is a far better left-handed hitter than he is a right-handed hitter. 0-2 pitch. Looped into short left field, a base hit. What a piece of hitting by the rookie Russell Martin.
I was thinking the same thing. This is a 2-strike swing. Rear end out, hands back. Almost went to his knees to swing at this one. The right knee was almost on the ground. Watch the right knee of Russell Martin. Boy, that's some piece of hitting right there.
Well, Willie Randolph really taking a gamble here. You got to believe he's looking at what the matchup would be if he took Bradford out of the game right now. Talked about Bettamy against right-handed pitching, a 281 batter, 15 home runs. Against left-handed pitching, a 189 batter. But what Randolph might be thinking, if you bring in Feliciano, here comes Olmedo Saenz, one of the most dangerous right-handed hitters off the bench in either league. Two-in on the count on Bettamy. Feliciano still getting ready. James Loney in the on-deck circle. Got to look at Jonathan Broxton throwing in the Dodger pen. 2 on, 2 out, 2 in. 3-0. Green light him here, Timmy. 3-0 tie game.
I don't think so. No, I wouldn't. I don't think he's a patient enough hitter to hit 3-0. We'll see.
Bradford ready. And he takes a strike, clearly taking all the way. Candace taking Greg Maddux off the hook with a game-tying 2-run home run here in the bottom of the 5th. Dodgers trying to take the lead. They need a 2-out hit from Bettamy. Ball 4. Decision time again now for Willie Randolph.
Yeah, it was a decision time for Eric Cooper, the home plate umpire. You could see that right shoulder go up. He almost called that pitch a strike, but thought better of it. Watch the right shoulder of Eric Cooper. Umpires come up like that, they want to call it a strike. It was very, very close. And now Willie Randolph will go to Feliciano.
And the question again becomes, does Grady Little now turn to Olmedo Saenz off his bench?
I think so.
Nomar Garciaparra, helmet on, bat in hand. He might hit next. They're going to leave Loney to bat. He had 20 at-bats at the big league level against left-handed pitching and had 7 hits. Pedro Feliciano on the mound. Breaking ball sweeps away from Loney.
We were talking about it between innings, Tom, and I think you had the salient point in that in a tie ball game, Loney's glove is so important that the Dodgers are taking a chance, allowing Loney to hit with the bases loaded. Thing against that is how many more chances are the Dodgers going to have with the bases loaded? That's what Grady Little has to decide.
2-0 to Loney, who had the big 2-run base hit in the 4th inning to get the Dodgers on the board. He came up with the bases loaded then and shot one into left center field. It was scored a hit and an error, but he knocked in the first 2 runs. Kennis tied the game here in the 5th. They're loaded again for Loney. 2-0 delivery. 3-0. So all of a sudden, this New York bullpen, the best in the league the entire season, is melting down here in the 4th and 5th innings. Boy, you talk about a borderline call there. Where was this pitch? That's ball 4 is where that is.
Mets have had a lot of breaks from pitch calling by Eric Cooper.
3-1 to Loney. That's ball 4. And the Dodgers, for the first time since the 3rd inning of game 1, have a lead. And look who comes out of the Dodger dugout. When they announce this guy in a second, this place is going to go ballistic. Grady Little told us he did not think he would use him in the game tonight. His quad is that badly injured.
The National League Comeback Player of the Year is back.
Boy, this place is rocking. Four Dodgers. Watch out on the first pitch. Throw him a breaking ball. Did not throw him a first pitch fastball.
Yeah, the one thing that will never change, the aggressiveness of Nomar. He is not up there to take.
That Mets dugout wearing out a trail to the pitching mound here in the last couple of innings.
What an at-bat by the 22-year-old James Loney. A base hit to drive in 2 his last at-bat, a walk to drive in 1 this at-bat.
1-0 on Nomar Garciaparra. And he takes a strike. Nomar had 2 of the biggest base hits for the Dodgers this entire year. 1-1. Roller back to the mound. Well done by Feliciano, and that'll end the inning. But the Dodgers get 3. 2 on a home run by Kent. The next on a bases loaded walk and lead by a run. For the Dodgers, 4 runs and 7 hits for the Mets. And now the Dodgers turn it over to hard-throwing Jonathan Broxton. Another one of their many homegrown talents. And the big fella can bring it.
Only 22 years old, and the media guide has him listed at 288. But many, including us, think he's bigger than that.
Oh, yeah. Sean Green leading things off for the Dodgers, or for the Mets against the Dodger right-hander Jonathan Broxton. Will be followed by Valentin, and then we'll see. 2-0. Green tonight, a pair of hits, a couple of runs batted in against the team he played for after coming over from Toronto, and he wants to beat the Dodgers some kind of badly. To Green. Down the right field line towards the corner, and it is up against the wall. Drew letting it fly to second. And Green sliding in with his 3rd hit of the game, his 2nd double of the game. And he's playing with a chip on his shoulder against the Dodgers. We asked him about it yesterday.
Playing the former team adds something to it, and we got a few guys here who were on that 04 team. LaDuca, Moda, Sanchez is hurt, but you know, we all have a little extra motivation. We want to go out and knock the team out that basically you know, traded away all of us and went in a new direction. So yeah, I mean, I'd be lying if I was saying there's no extra motivation.
Well, the Dodgers believing that Valentin was going to punt. He swings away at the first pitch.
That's right, Tom. They had pinched their corner infielders, Betemit at 3rd and Loney at 1st. They're still in. You have a pinch hitter, Valentin, very adept at hitting ground balls to the right side. I don't think you bunt in this situation, but the Dodgers continue to look for it.
Check swing, they appeal, and nothing doing. Says Brian O'Nora over at 3rd base. 1-1 to Valentin, one of a number of former Dodgers on this New York Met team. Sean Green alluding to Paul LaDuca. Duaner Sanchez, who's injured. And reliever Guillermo Mota. Of course, he was referring to those 4, including himself, as guys that were with the divisional champion here in Los Angeles 2 years ago in 2004. Valentin here last year. Pedro came up with the Dodgers. And of course, Willie Randolph a couple of years here at the end of his career. Grounded foul, and Count goes to 1-2. Martin going to come out and visit with Jonathan Broxton. Michael Tucker has moved into the on-deck circle. And would bat for Feliciano. Let's send it downstairs to Chris Myers.
Tom and Tim talking about Sean Green. He has 20 family and friends from the Orange County area. He still calls California home. He said the intensity picked up in that 2004 season you were talking about at Dodger Stadium, but nothing is as loud as playing in New York. And he said even though he's a laid-back Californian, he's become a New York kind of guy.
1-2 on Valentin, and he will not advance the runner. That's a poor at bat there by the veteran Valentin. Green stands at first, or at second. And now one out in the inning.
Looked like a slider from Jonathan Broxton. And Valentin got under it. Might have backed up a little bit. Chris Myers saying that the intensity in New York obviously different than it is in Southern California, but you couldn't prove it by this crowd right now.
No. Michael Tucker now will bat for Feliciano, who pitches a third of an inning and walks in the go-ahead run. Brady Little told us before the game that he would not be afraid to use Broxton for 2 and his closer Saito for 2 innings tonight. When you're down 0-2, you better let it all hang out.
Empty your holster.
Slider in there, a strike. And remember, should there be a game 4 here tomorrow night, it'll be the National League starting pitcher from the All-Star game this year. Brad Penny getting the ball. And Oliver Perez, a one-time highly touted prospect with San Diego, went to the Pirates in the Brian Giles trade. It looked like he would be a great one. Well, he wound up in the minor leagues earlier this year. He struggled so badly before being dealt to the Mets. One and one to Michael Tucker. 2-1. Tucker, a very solid pickup again by Omar Minaya, the Mets general manager. Veteran's been around a long time. Can still swing the bat. Nice play on that pitch in the dirt by Russell Martin.
Not a thought of pitching around Michael Tucker in this at bat. Now with Jose Reyes on base. Keep in mind Jose Reyes as a leadoff batter drove in 81 runs this year. But not a thought of pitching around Tucker in this at bat.
3-1 to count on Michael Tucker. Challenged with a fastball on 3-1 and fouled straight back. The Broxton fastball clocked at 95 miles per hour. So now the Dodger Stadium crowd will rise as one, getting behind Broxton to try and get the second out in this inning. Ball 4.
For the Mets, shortstop, Jose Reyes.
So after surrendering the lead in the bottom half of the 5th, the Mets trying to tie it, if not recapture the lead, here in the top of the 6th. Jose Reyes digging in. Tonight he's 0 for 3, reached on an error by Loney back in the second. Ball one.
One thing you want to do with Reyes there is you want to pinch your left fielder. Marlon Anderson really too deep in left field. Reyes has power, but he does not have power to left field. His power is to right field and right center. Marlon Anderson just about 3 to 5 steps too deep. One thing you want to take away from him, from Reyes that is that little dunker to left field. It has hang time.
The only Jimmy Rollins at the shortstop position knocked in more runs than Reyes this year. 2 on, 1 out, 1-0 on the New York shortstop. Broxton all over the place, digging himself quite a hole, falling behind 2-0. Now Rick Honeycutt. Well, that's Grady Little, I beg your pardon. The manager's not going to have his pitching coach come out for this visit. And this will be very much a one-way conversation here.
Well, there are times when you have to tease hitters, and there are times when you challenge hitters. Obviously, this is the latter. 300 pounds against Jose Reyes is what it's all about. Throw a strike.
And this does happen to Broxton from time to time. Last couple of years they brought him up believing he would be the closer on this ball club, especially after the injury to Eric Gagne. But Broxton just doesn't throw enough strikes. Not yet. Two on for the Mets. 1 out. Dodgers lead by a run. We're in the 6th inning. 2-0 to Reyes. And he swings at a 2-0 pitch, and he's tardy on a 2-0 fastball. Very good numbers for Reyes with runners in scoring position this season. 10th best batting average in the National League. Right down the middle. Got to wonder if Reyes is guessing. And what else would you be guessing besides fastball from Broxton?
I don't know. Grady Little's message was pretty clear right now. Throw the ball down the fat part of the plate and challenge it. I don't know what Reyes was looking for there.
Action pitch here on a 2-2 count. Just rearing back and firing. That one at 97. And he's beating Reyes with a fastball. And Reyes not your typical leadoff guy that on a fastball you're okay if he just slaps it into left field. With 2 strikes maybe. But not on 2-0 and 2-1 counts. I mean, he can drive the ball.
Yes, he can. Again, not to left field, but to right.
Green at second, Tucker on at first, 1 out. Again a 2-2. Here it is, hit it. And Reyes fouling it away once again. The next pitch will be the 7th pitch in this at bat.
But again, you take the attitude that you're trying to wear the hitter down right now. You got a big guy pitching to a smaller guy, much smaller guy.
Little flare into center field. It's going to fall in a base hit. They're going to wave around Sean Green. Here comes a throw by Lofton, cut off. And Jose Reyes, a game-tying base hit into center field. He's been doing it all year long for the Mets.
Fouling balls off the other way. And Broxton eventually threw him a slider, a breaking ball. And I have to quit, you know, one of the toughest things about catching and pitching in the major leagues is you have people looking over your shoulder, questioning every call you make. but that's one call that should be questioned. When Reyes is fouling the ball off the other way, like he was, no way can you throw him an off-speed pitch.
So now the Dodger bullpen gives up the lead. We're tied at 5, and here's Lo Duca, the hottest hitter right now in the Mets lineup. Lo Duca's been on base twice tonight. He walked in the opening inning, hit by a pitch in the second, and then rolled out to Greg Maddux in the 4th. Tucker the go-ahead run at second. Reyes leads at first. Served into short left center field for Cole. Cannot get it. Here comes a runner. Throw to the plate. It's up the line. And a base hit by Lo Duca against his former club. Gives the Mets a 6-5 lead. How about that piece of hitting by Mr. Lo Duca?
Similar to Russell Martin's hit the last half inning. Slider on the black part of the plate, surrounding the plate, of course. Furcal going out, can't get to it, and the Mets retake the lead. John Green, the ex-Dodger, tied the score, and Paul Lo Duca, the ex-Dodger, drove in the score and put the Mets back on top.
Well, to this day, one of the most controversial trades ever, and I mean ever, in the long storied history of the Dodger franchise was in 2004 when they had the best team maybe in the National League. And at the trade deadline, then general manager Paul DePodesta traded Lo Duca, who many felt was the very heart and soul of that Dodger team. Sent Lo Duca along with Juan Encarnacion and the outstanding reliever Guillermo Mota to the Florida Marlins for Brad Penny, who pitched one game after the trade and was hurt the rest of the year. Also brought over reliever Billy Murphy, who's no longer with the franchise, and first baseman Hee-Seop Choi, who's no longer with the franchise. Fly ball short left. This is going to fall. Another base hit. They're going to hold the runner at third, as scoring is Reyes. And the Mets here in the 6th inning have scored 3 times and lead by 2.
You could string all 3 of those hits, the one by Reyes, Lo Duca, and Beltran together. They wouldn't go 300 feet. A dunker by Reyes to tie it, a dunker by Lo Duca to put him ahead, and now a dunker by Beltran. But one of the key at-bats in this inning was the walk to Michael Tucker.
Well, now you got to leave in the right-hander to face left-handed batting Carlos Delgado. Boy, how would Joe Bible have looked here in this inning? But he's unavailable. And Broxton's night might be over. Chad Billingsley, the hard-throwing rookie right-hander, is ready in the bullpen. But Billingsley from time to time has a very difficult time throwing strikes. Is this the kind of situation you want to bring him in? Broxton has faced 6 batters in the inning. 5 have reached. They're on the corners with 1 away for Delgado. Mets lead by 2. And it's ball 1. Mets in the first 2 games of this series, only 4 of 17 with runners in scoring position. They are 6 of 9 tonight, including 3 of 4 in this 6th inning. Pulled foul and out of play. 1-1 to Delgado. You're getting a look at how the New York Mets won 97 games during the regular season and pretty much walked away from the entire competition in the National League East long before the All-Star break came along. These guys can hit.
They can beat you in so many ways. Speed, power, and contact.
LaDuca the runner at third, Beltran at first. Still only one out in a 3-run 6th inning. 1-2 on Delgado. And he chases up for the second out of the inning.
We talked about the 3 flares in this inning. The one by Reyes on the slider to tie the ball game. And then LaDuca on the slider to left center. And then Beltran on the slider. So 3 sliders that did not end up well for the Dodgers and Jonathan Broxton.
Strikeout by Delgado, the first strikeout of the night by a Met batter. And now David Wright. Fastball right down the middle, strike 1. Seven runs, 11 hits for the Mets. 5 runs, 10 hits for the Dodgers. And we're only in the top of the 6th inning. There goes a runner first to second. And they'll let him take second base.
No one covering for Kyle or Kent, both allowing Beltran to steal the base. So uncontested, Beltran steals second base.
One and one to David Wright, who's been a money hitter since coming to the big leagues. And he takes a fastball for strike 2. Look at those numbers for Wright. He's become as clutch a hitter as there is in the National League.
Tom, there's also no better hitter in the National League that goes the other way with 2 strikes on him. That's by design.
And they're setting up away. And a slider down and away to end the inning. But the Mets, after giving up the lead, score 3 to recapture a 7-5 advantage. 7-5 ball game. The Mets in front as we go to the bottom half of the 6th inning. So many of us that have seen National League Baseball day in and day out for many, many years, we're asking the question over the last year and a half, what happened to Guillermo Mota? When he was with the Dodgers, he was almost unhittable. He went to the American League with Cleveland, could not get anybody out. And he refound the touch since coming back over this year. Those numbers you saw include a ERA of over 6 with Cleveland. Since coming to the Mets, he has been lights out.
Fastballs, changeup, an occasional slider. Mets, in fact, have 2 right-handers with great changeups in their bullpen. Guillermo Mota and Aaron Howman. Willie Randolph saying that Mota's is probably a little better than Howman's.
Mota in 2003 with the Dodgers had a 1.97 ERA. The following year, his earned run average was 2.1, and that's when he went with LaDuca to the Marlins in the trade we were talking about earlier. And then after leaving there, Cleveland this year in 34 games, an earned run average over 6. But with the Dodgers, a little over a month, allowed 2 runs in 18 innings, an ERA of 1. 2-2 the count.
And again, that trade leaving Dodger fans still shaking their heads.
And that team went on to win the National League's Western Division. But they just weren't the same club.
Nope.
And the struggles continue for Rafael Furcal. 0 for 3 tonight. I know for those of us who especially see the National League West. When we turn back the clock on that deal, I think everybody in the West said, you know what, we might have a chance. After the Dodgers unloaded LaDuca, Mota in the trade, and Penny coming back the other way. And now Kenny Lofton, for a call, only has 1 hit in 10 at-bats. Lofton is hitless in 11 at-bats in this division series. Bottom fell out.
That's what happens when a guy with a great changeup throws it to a left-handed hitter like Lofton. You get the hands moving forward.
And Kenny Lofton has his first base hit of the series. In his 12th at bat.
Similar to one of the Met hits in the top of the 6th inning, a little flare to center field. Kenny Lofton feeling like he should kiss first base. He hadn't seen it in a while.
Hello, old friend. Now the heart of the order, Marlon Anderson, 2 hits, has scored a run tonight. And then Jeff Kent, hoping for a chance in the on-deck circle. He homered his last at bat. Perhaps shaking up to be a wild one here tonight. Ball 1 to Marlon Anderson. We mentioned earlier, Anderson hit 12 home runs this year, 7 of them in only 64 at-bats as a Dodger. 1 ball and 1 strike.
A little odd. Marlon up there taking all the way. Took the first changeup and the second changeup. Marlon Anderson swinging one of the hotter bats for the Dodgers. It's a little odd since he represents a tying run.
Mota gave up 11 home runs this season in only 55 innings. In fact, the only 2 runs he allowed in 18 innings out of the Met bullpen after coming over in the deal, both came on home runs. One on, one out. Dodgers trail by 2. We're in the 6th. And Mota paying a lot of attention to Kenny Lofton, who had 32 stolen bases in 37 attempts during the year. Lofton's next stolen base would tie him with Rickey Henderson for most stolen bases all time in the playoffs.
Marlon Anderson called time, and Eric Cooper granted it to him. That was very, very close.
You can see his lips asking for timeout, but he never stepped out or took a hand off the bat in case it wasn't granted.
That's right. You don't want to take a strike when it's out of the batter's box, when you're out of the batter's box.
Timmy, you brought up earlier throws over to first by Traxel when he had a 4-run lead. Now, granted, it is Kenny Lofton.
Yeah, it's different now.
599 stolen bases. But the man at the plate is a guy that can tie the game on.
That's exactly right. But it's different. A 2-run game in the 6th inning I think Mota is paying careful attention to the right guy in Lofton.
Fly ball left center field. Playable for Beltran. And Lofton retreats to the bag, 2 away, and once again here comes Jeff Kent. I'd like to remind everybody tomorrow the Division Series schedule. If the Dodgers win this game, ESPN will carry the Padres and the Cardinals from Busch Stadium. The Cardinals leading that series 2-1. And we'll have game 4 here between the Mets and the Dodgers. If the Mets close out the series on Fox tomorrow night at 8 Eastern, Timmy, you and I will be in your old stomping grounds, St. Luke.
Yep. Once again, the Padres winning today 3-1 behind Chris Young, who pitched a terrific ball game.
Kent hammers one into left field, and it's over the head of Chavez, and then bounces in to the first row. A ground rule double. That would have easily scored Lofton had that ball stayed in the field of play.
I was thinking the same thing. Lofton, with his speed, scores on that ball. So again, the Mets get a break as the ball hit by Kent just finds its way into the first row.
And once again, Kent just continues to deliver for the Dodgers.
Been on base 4 times tonight. Single, double, home run, on an error, 2 RBIs, and a run scored.
And now can J.D. Drew deliver? He does not have a single RBI in this division series. He knocked in 100 during the regular year. And he will not deliver here. On the first pitch, a fly ball will end the inning. 7-5. We go to the 7th. Back after a break from your local Fox station. Mets lead the Dodgers. We go to the 7th inning, 7-5. Of course, a very sad news, Timmy, as we remember Buck O'Neil passed away at 94 years young. They had a moment of silence here at the ballpark before the game. I know you had a chance to meet him, and what a wonderful spirit and soul he was.
94 years old. I mean, he embraced and embodied the spirit of the game like nobody I've ever met. I mean, a guy who, because of Ken Burns' tribute to baseball on public television, that made him a star.
Yep.
And he was a star in more ways than one.
It's just so hard to believe that when the Baseball Hall of Fame went back and did the right thing, inducting 17 members of the old Negro League into the Hall of Fame earlier this summer, it is unfathomable that Buck O'Neil was still alive, the rest were not, and no one has done more to, bring back the memories and try to make America understand how important the Negro Leagues were to this country and eventually to Major League Baseball, that Buck O'Neil of that 17 was not inducted to the Hall of Fame. One of the great mistakes that has ever been made.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Frank Robinson with us earlier this year was still so upset that Buck O'Neil was not in that class this summer in Cooperstown. And now someone in his family will have to accept that induction one day. Too bad. Rookie right-hander Chad Billingsley, a starter the entire year, once coming up. And there's a base hit by Chavez into center field to begin the New York Mets 7th inning. Billingsley's going to be a real good one if he stays healthy for many, many years to come. #1 pick out of Defiance, Ohio.
One 22-year-old replaces another. A very, very bright future for this Dodger franchise with all the terrific young players that they have, even the battery, Russell Martin behind the plate. Good young pitchers. I mean, good young pitchers.
Now Sean Green, a 3-hit night for Sean, including a couple of runs batted in and has scored a run. But Timmy, you've been around a lot of pitchers. You look in this Dodger bullpen in this division series, and for any number of reasons, They have so many guys that are starting pitchers, have been starting pitchers this year. And now they're being asked to come out of the bullpen. Brett Tomko did a little more of it near the end of the season after coming off the DL. But Hendrickson, Billingsley, how hard is that for a pitcher?
Well, I think you find that a lot in postseason. Pitchers just have to adapt. It's a lot tougher for a young pitcher who's used to starting all the time. There's a routine. And to put him in the bullpen in postseason, it's an understandable problem for managers, but tough on the young pitchers.
1-2 on Sean Green. When Billingsley first came up, through all the height, he had a hard time throwing strikes. And because he was piling up the pitch count the first 4 or 5 innings of a game before having to be taken out of games, Brady Little sat him down and said, young man, I can't wear my bullpen out if you continue to pitch like this. There's a bouncing ball up the middle. Could be 2 for a call to the bag. Double play.
Good play. We saw Jose Reyes turn a double play similarly earlier in the game. Jose had slipped and then made the unassisted tag at second base, and now Furcal does it. Going one way, has to back up with the right foot. The strong arm gets his man. Well done by Rafael Furcal.
Now Valentin with 2 down and nobody on. And Billingsley throwing strikes. Thought Chavez might have been shaken up a little bit there, but apparently he's okay. They've already lost their starting left fielder in this game, Cliff Lloyd, who re-aggravated his left Achilles, scoring all the way from first base back in the 3rd inning.
2 biting sliders from Billingsley.
Strike 3 called, another one. So the rookie allows a hit, no runs. We go to the bottom of the 7th, a 2-run New York lead. Famous Roxy for some live rock and roll later tonight.
Oh, absolutely. Especially with an early morning flight to St. Louis perhaps tomorrow. Oh yeah, perfect.
Guess that head won't hit the pillow.
Sleep in November.
That's right. Russell Martin, first pitch swinging to begin the Dodgers' 7th inning, trailing by 2. 1 pitch and 1 out for Guillermo Mota. They like to get him through the 7th. Aaron Heilman in the 8th. Billy Wagner in the 9th. Our game summary brought to you by Nissan. The Mets 6 after they lost the lead in the bottom of the 5th. 8 batters come to the plate, 3 score. James Loney, 3 RBIs tonight, getting a start in place of Nomar. And Jeff Kent, a 3-hit game, including a 2-run home run. But outside of Loney and Kent, it's been pretty quiet in terms of big base hits when you really need them. J.D. Drew with a huge chance in that 6th inning, with runners at 2nd and 3rd and 2 out. A fly ball to end the inning. Betemit chases a pitch up in the strike zone, and this will be the 2nd out of the inning. 3 pitches for Mota, who struggled with his control in the 6th. And yet the Dodger hitters up there first or second pitch hacking, as they say. And just like that, 2 down and nobody on.
Willie Randolph trying to nurse Mota through this inning. The pitcher spot leads off in the top of the 8th. So he'll lead off that top of the 8th with the pinch hitter. Should the Dodgers come back and win, Brad Penny, that was Brad, he will start tomorrow night.
Penny, the game 1 loser for the Dodgers, pitching out of their bullpen. Now Loney. And he takes a pitch out of the strike zone.
Tom, that's what you alluded to earlier. A guy like Brad Penny, normally a starter, but going in as a reliever in game 1. And starters have a ritual by which they go, warming up for 15, 20 minutes before a game, and it's very difficult for them to make that adjustment to the bullpen. And Penny had that problem. He ended up walking the first batter he faced. A couple of walks killed him in that 7th inning of game 1.
Loney, the Dodgers minor league player of the year this season. Tim brought up earlier, hit over 380 in the Pacific Coast League. But he's in a tough spot. Nomar Garciaparra, free agent at the end of the year. He's had a great year, but he's more than just a little injury prone. Do you bring him back or give Loney a chance? I think it's pretty clear. If you bring this kid back, Loney, there's a good chance he's going to knock in 85, 90 or more runs.
Sure. Hitting with that stroke of his. Well, the one thing that all minor league systems try to do is develop players for the major leagues. It may not be with your team, but if you develop them and continue to develop them for your ball club, they're going to, you can use them as trade bait. There are a lot of things you can do, but if they're ready, they'll play.
And this kid's ready.
He's ready.
Third time he's been on base tonight. A 2-run single, a bases loaded walk, and now a 2-out hit.
That is a great stroke. Again, only 22 years old. We've said that about 3 players, about Broxton, Billingsley, and now Loney.
Yeah, the 2 best minor league systems by far in a game today are the Dodgers and the Arizona Diamondbacks. They run 1-2-2-1 in every publication there is. And we've seen all of those young players for both teams come up and make differences this year. Now Olmedo signs. Could tie it on one swing of the bat. Was given the nickname by former manager Jim Tracy as the Big Tomato. And he's digging in with his team down 2 here in the bottom of the 7th inning. Glad to have you with us on this Saturday night from Los Angeles. It's been a wild game, a back and forth game. 2-0. And Signs is looking for something to hammer on this next pitch.
Talked about the minor leagues. Jim Tracy, the manager of the Pittsburgh Pirates, with a son playing in the minor leagues this year.
Signs hit 3 pinch hit home runs this season. A long one here ties it up.
Trying to go away.
And miss hit. That's the thing why you wonder, you know. And Timmy, I know it's a lot easier up here. You've been down there. But when this inning starts and the first 2 batters in the inning go down on 3 total pitches.
That's what happened back in the 5th inning. Percal and Lofton make easy outs. And then the Dodgers scored 3 runs with 2 out and nobody on. Aaron Heilman forming, but Willie Randolph does not want to use Heilman in this inning. Otherwise, he has to make a double switch with the pitcher leading off the top of the 8th inning.
Green light him here, 3-0, down 2.
I don't think so.
He takes it a strike.
There are a lot of guys that don't like to hit 3-0. Guys coming off the bench in particular don't like to hit 3-0. See as many pitches as you can.
Signs waving at bat a couple of times. 3-1 pitch. Pulls it foul in the Dodger dugout.
Looked like a changeup from Mota, pulled foul by Signs.
Three and 2. Loney gets started at first with 2 away. Strike 3 called, and that'll end the inning. 1 hit, 1 left. We go to the 8th. Mets lead by 2. Grady Little getting short on time. His team down 2-0 in his best-of-5 National League Division Series. And they're down by 2 runs as we begin the 8th. Pinch hitter Chris Woodward batting for Mota, who gives him 2 big innings, shutout innings. Brett Tomko comes on and allows a base hit down the left field line. And a leadoff double by Chris Woodward.
Tomko appearing in game 2, worked 2/3 of an inning and gave up 2 earned runs.
Jose Reyes.
Chris Woodward chooses a breaking ball, a fat breaking ball right over the middle of the plate to lead off the 8th inning with a double. Now there's so many things that Willie Randolph can do. With Jose Reyes, he can bunt for a base hit. I think a bunt's in order right here. Either way, bunt for a hit or sacrifice.
Foul. And he was clearly trying to bunt for a hit. That wasn't one of those where he squared around just to put the bat on the ball, watch it all the way, and roll it up the third baseline.
Right.
The Mets have been nearly invincible when leading late in games this year. In fact, the best record in the entire National League when they have a lead at the end of 6 innings. And we're starting the 8th, and they lead by 2 tonight. And Reyes swings away and lines it into center, caught by Lofton. Woodward going to tag up and run on Lofton's weak arm, and he gets to third.
Great base running by Chris Woodward. He's about 1/3 of the way. Sometimes you don't know whether that ball's going to drop or not. You're 1/3 of the way. You give yourself a chance to go back and tag up. He knows Lofton does not have a strong arm. When you're ahead in the game, take chances. Woodward did excellent base running. 1/3 of the way. Sees the play develop. Tags up. Goes to third. Superb.
So now the Dodgers forced to bring their infield in. And maybe more than any other player in their lineup, this is a man Willie Randolph wants at the plate in this kind of situation.
You're right.
He puts the bat on the ball. Paul Lo Duca. And he's put the bat on the ball plenty against Tomko. Pitch out, thinking a squeeze might be on.
Too good a hitter to squeeze with. That'd be my thinking with Lo Duca. Too good a clutch hitter to squeeze with.
I'm with you. But if you're going to do it, this is a pitch to do it. After they pitch out, generally they won't pitch out a second time. Look at that. Doesn't get any better than that right there by Lo Duca. And that makes it an 8-5 game. Man, can he hit. And the Mets starting to sense it and feel it a little bit now with a 3-run lead.
Reyes got him to third. Woodward, that is. Infield in. I doubt the infield has a chance to make a play on this anyway. Ball's on the ground. Talking about bat control, there are few major league hitters that have the type bat control that Lo Duca has.
Strike one on the outside corner to Carlos Beltran. Tomko comes in, allows a double to begin the inning. A fly ball advances a runner on very good base running by Chris Woodward. And then Lo Duca just drops the head of the bat on the ball and dumps it into right field, making it a 3-run game. One and two to Beltran.
There goes a runner. Tomko did not even look. By the time he does, too late. Or do they call the balk? Well, of course, that took place after the runner was already 3/4 of the way.
That's exactly right. This is more a stolen base than it is a balk. You can see Tomko. That is about as clear a balk as can be called. Lo Duca taking off, and of course he's still on the rubber, coming home and then going to second base. You can't do that. Should be like half balk, half stolen base on that.
Yeah. And half brain cramp by Tomko.
Right.
Didn't even bother to look over at the runner.
Nope.
Takashi Saito getting loose in the bullpen. 1-2 to Beltran. We'll do it again. Mets have banged out 14 base hits tonight. 8 runs. Two and two.
See Aaron Howman continuing to warm up for the Mets. And we specifically asked Willie Randolph today before the game if Billy Wagner, if he had the opportunity, would he use him for more than 1 inning? He said no. Emphatically, no.
Well, it's much like Trevor Hoffman through the years in San Diego. If you surround those closers with great setup guys, and heck, Timmy, you saw it firsthand all those years when they had dynamite setup people in front of Mariano Rivera with the Yankees. Your closer's career lasts so much longer if you're only bringing them in for that 9th inning.
Yeah, that's a very, very good point.
And if you have guys that can get people out in front of them, better still. And Willie Randolph has those guys.
It's gotten to the point now where setup relievers are not as valuable as the closers, but on some teams almost as valuable. Mariano Rivera, as an example, used to set up John Wetland in 1996 and many times went 2 innings. And now, of course, he's destined for the Hall of Fame as one of the great relievers in the history of the game.
Pulled foul.
I think baseball should ultimately do something for the setup man instead of just calling him a setup man. There should be a hold or something statistically to denote the value of a setup man. Not enough's been done.
Right here on Fox on Tuesday night, the start of the American League Championship Series, and we know it will be the Detroit Tigers against Ken Macha's Oakland Athletics. 3-2, 9th pitch of this at bat is ball 4. And while we have a moment, let's send it just down the road and say hello to Jeannie Zelasco. Hi, Jeannie.
Hello. Of course, three years ago, the Detroit Tigers lost 119 games. Now they have eliminated the New York Yankees and are moving on to face the Oakland A's in the ALCS. As you gentlemen are talking about game 1 Tuesday night on Fox, the probable pitching matchup as we speak. Nate Robertson facing Barry Zito. Again, this is Tuesday night on Fox.
Well, we'll be interested to see if Nate gets the ball rather than Mr. Verlander. Breaking the action. Welcome back to Game 3 of the National League Division Series. The New York Mets with a 2-0 lead in this best-of-5 series. And they have a 3-run lead, batting with 2 on and 1 out here in the 8th inning. The two teams combining for 27 hits, which breaks a Division Series record in a National League game. Prior record of 26. Takashi Saito, the Dodger closer,
trying to keep it a 3-run game, and misses ball 1 to Carlos Delgado. When you think the way the season began in the Dodger bullpen, primarily that closer's role, they thought Eric Gagne would be back. He was still hurt. Yency Brazoban was the next in line. He got hurt, out for the year. Then Danny Baez, a former All-Star closer in Tampa Bay, was brought in during the offseason in case Gagne wasn't ready. He was ineffective and wound up being traded to Atlanta. And then here's Saito, a guy brought into spring training, a long shot to make the team, and turns out to be one of the best closers in either league going back to the All-Star break. 2-1 to Delgado.
It is that wicked slider that he will throw on any count. Pitching for Yokohama in the Japanese league for 14 years. 36-year-old Takashi Saito.
Those are real good numbers right there. 1-2 to Delgado. And a bouncing ball. Betamit throws it into right field. Rounding third, Loduca. It's 9-5 Mets.
Betamit did not have control of the ball, obviously. You have to charge a ball like that, you're not going to get two. The easier out is to first base because you're moving forward. Throws a little palm ball over the head of Jeff Kent. And the Mets score another one. Still only 1 out here in the 8th inning.
Runners on the corners, 1 away, and now it'll be David Wright. The Mets with a 4-run lead. And they need 6 outs from their bullpen to advance to the National League Championship Series. It would be the first time since the year 2000 when they won the National League pennant and ran into the New York Yankees in the World Series.
That series won by the New York Yankees in 5. Luis Sojo's single up the middle off Al Leiter. That was the last World Series won by a dominant Yankee team over the last 11 years.
Swing and a foul ball back out of play. This season only the 7th trip to the playoffs for the New York Mets franchise. 69, you know about the Miracle Mets. 73, they stunned the Reds in the League Championship Series. 86, won it all over Boston. Then 88, losers to the Dodgers. 99, lost in the NLCS that year, and then won the pennant in 2000. In fact, that 69 National League Championship Series is the only postseason series sweep for the New York Mets. Through all their trips to the playoffs, they're trying to make it 3 and done in this series. And that's strike 3 to David Wright. 2 away in the inning. And back in 1969, the Baltimore Orioles shocked in 5 games by the Mets. Davey Johnson on the fly ball to Cleon Jones. And then in 86, Jesse Orosco finishes things off, fanning Marty Barrett in Game 7.
The glove that never came down.
Yep. Andy Chavez now bats with runners on the corners and 2 away. Chavez took over in the 5th inning. That was his first at bat. Floyd had to leave the game in the top of the 3rd, re-aggravating that Achilles injury. The update from the Mets clubhouse, he's day-to-day. So if they win this one tonight, the League Championship Series would not begin in the National League until Wednesday. They'd have a few days to get healed up.
Rounding 3rd before scoring. Cliff Floyd 2 for 2 on the evening, but not able to answer the bell in the 4th inning.
Two and one to count on Chavez. Runners on the corners, 2 away. Trying to butt his way on. And fouls it over the screen. Monday night, October the 23rd on Fox. Prison Break, enormously exciting and successful on Fox. An all-new action-packed episode starts Monday, October the 23rd, 8 Eastern, 7 Central. Viewer discretion is advised. For those of you that have not seen Prison Break, you will enjoy it and will get hooked. Popped up. Betamit to the outfield grass to end the inning. 2 tack-on runs in the Mets 8th. They lead by 4. Bottom of the 8th inning. Dodgers come to bat against Aaron Heilman. Trailing 9-5, top of the order. This is the 5th inning of the game that Rafael Furcal has led off an inning.
How odd is that?
I'm sorry, 4th time.
How odd is that?
Very. Not as odd as 5. As our old pal, the late great Harry Carey, used to say, to do it 5 times, you better do it 4. Greg Maddux remembers Harry quite well. 1-2 pitch, taken low and away. 2-2 the count on Furcal. Maddux, a starter here tonight, lasted 4 innings. 7 hits, 4 runs. But the team took the lead and took him off the hook when they scored 3 in the 5th to take a 1-run advantage. And now Heilman runs the count full, but that was a short-lived lead for the Dodgers because in the Mets' 6th inning they scored 3 times, tacked on 2 more in the 8th, and here we are in the bottom of the inning. Kent New up 4th.
There are questions being asked. Could this be Greg Maddux's last start tonight? Perhaps, but I don't think so.
No.
Winning 15 games this year for this franchise. If I had to guess right now, I'd say there's a 90% chance of him coming back next year.
Well, you look at this guy's career, Timmy. Oh, boy. Came up with the Cubs. Signed as a free agent, go to Atlanta. 4 times has won the Cy Young, 10th most wins all time. Just an extraordinary career.
333 wins you saw, 203 losses, 130 games over 500.
Base hit into left field by Furcal to begin the bottom of the 8th. So the leadoff man aboard. Dodgers down 4. Let's check in once again with Jeannie Zalasko.
Well, the Padres on the brink of elimination in St. Louis. Leading 3-1 today. Trevor Hoffman got the call and puts an end to a 9-game postseason losing skid. San Diego is alive to see another game. And tomorrow on Fox, if the Mets hang on to win, we'll have Game 4 of the Pods and Cardinals. Of course, that is following the big T.O. return to Philadelphia tomorrow on Fox.
Jeannie, thank you very much. And for those wondering out there, we're not there quite yet. But this season, the Mets went 5-2 against San Diego, 4-2 against St. Louis. Lofton pops it up on the first pitch. And there you go again, Timmy. The batter in front of you makes the pitcher work, goes to a 3-2 count, base hit. You're down by 4 in the bottom of the 8th inning. And a guy not known for hitting the ball out of the ballpark is swinging at the first pitch.
Yeah, that's one of the things that rankles people who've been around the game for a long time. When you're talking about percentages and odds, the odds particularly after you're on deck and have seen what the leadoff batter or the guy in front of you has done, odds are better to take a pitch like that.
Anderson will take a pitch, ball 1. Lofton, 1 hit in the series that came tonight in the 6th inning in his 12th at bat of this division series. Good fastball in on Marlon Anderson's hands.
It has been a nightmare series so far for Kenny Lofton.
All Nomar Garciaparra could do tonight with that injured quad was pinch hit. That was in the 5th when he left the bases loaded on the ground out to the pitcher. Slow off-speed pitch of some kind by Heilman. And Anderson way out in front.
Yeah, that was a good changeup. We talked about the changeup of Guillermo Mota there. I can't think of another staff in the major leagues that has 2 right-handers whose best pitch are changeups. They pitch primarily out of the bullpen. Not primarily, exclusively out of the bullpen.
1-2 on Anderson. What a pickup by LaDuca. The setup away and the pitch came down and in.
Yeah, that was a terrific play. A lot of times catchers have to use that catcher's mitt like a fielder's glove, like a shortstop uses or an outfielder. Good reactions by LaDuca to prevent a wild pitch.
Two on Marlon Anderson for a call held on by Delgado at first base. And just protecting the plate on that swing will do it again. Derek Lowe would be a Game 5 starter. But that's that light you can't quite see at the end of the tunnel right now for the Dodgers.
As Lou Holtz used to say, the great football coach, that light at the end of the tunnel might be an oncoming train.
Yeah. Three and 2 the count on Marlon Anderson, who has 2 hits and 4 at-bats tonight. Jeff Kent on deck. That ball driven hard into straightaway center field, but room out there for Beltran. Second out of the inning and back to first for a call. It's time for the Holiday Inn Look Again play of the game, brought to you by Holiday Inn, the official hotel of Major League Baseball. Reyes, a base hit to tie the game in the 6th inning. That brought in Sean Green. And then the very next batter, LaDuca, who has 2 hits and 2 RBIs, gave New York the lead. They tacked on another run in that 3-run 6th and a couple of more in the 8th. Now Kent reached on an error his first time up, has since singled, hit a 2-run home run and doubled. And he had a good rip there.
Home run to tie it. That was in the 5th inning. Next time up, a double in the left field. Dodgers didn't get a break. That ball going into the stands. Otherwise, they inch a run closer.
That's when Kenny Lofton was at first base in that 6th inning against Guillermo Mota. He would have been the man that would have scored from first if that ball hit up against the wall rather than bounce over the wall. 0-2 to Kent. And if you're wondering, no player has ever hit for the cycle in postseason history. Kent a triple away. And Kent had 3 triples this year. Billy Wagner cranking it up in the Mets bullpen. 0-2 to Kent. A little more three-quarter delivery that time by Heilmann than down underneath.
Heilmann will drop down to right-handed batters a little bit more than he will left-handers. Try to get him to give a little bit. That changeup missed away.
And Kent softly, another base hit into center field. Well, there are always players who just seem to step up once the postseason comes around. We've seen it so many years with the Yankees, Derek Jeter, year after year after year. But whenever Kent seems to get in the playoffs, he always seems to be standing at a base when the ball's thrown back in the infield.
Yeah, he has been a clutch player, no question. Hey, we talked earlier about whether Willie Randolph would use Billy Wagner for more than an inning. If he were so inclined, now would be the time to bring him in. Drew with 20 home runs on the year.
Drew had a big chance back in the 6th. With runners at 2nd and 3rd. And 2 out, he flied out to center field on the first pitch in that at bat against Mota. And he takes changeup in there, a strike. Two on, 2 out. Dodgers down 3 in the bottom of the 8th inning. And rolled over softly to the first baseman, Delgado, and that's that. Kent Strand at first. Dodgers leave on 2 and trail by 4. Willie Randolph's New York Mets 3 outs away from a trip to the National League Championship Series. They lead 9-5 as we begin the top of the 9th inning. Told the story the other night about Willie Randolph. Was born in South Carolina as that one is grounded down to first. And Loney will beat Sean Green to the bag, 1 away. And Willie Randolph's family moved to Brooklyn. For more on Willie Randolph, let's send it downstairs to Chris Myers.
Well, Tom, Tim mentioned at the top of the broadcast how Willie thought of that ALCS series when the Red Sox rallied against the Yankees. Now, he wanted to go for the finish tonight. He also mentioned to us in the back of his mind when he was a Yankee player and was up 2-0 and then lost a World Series to the Dodgers. But he indicated he wanted to finish things off tonight, advance, maybe sit back on Sunday and watch a little football on Fox. I added the on Fox part, but you get the idea.
Oh, yeah. I mean, a lot of times you would think, you know, a manager or clubhouse would be very loose. It wasn't that Willie was tight by any means when we went down to visit him today. But clearly he showed up meaning business tonight. He wanted this thing over tonight.
Yep.
And if tomorrow he can't watch football, he can watch the Redskins and the Giants. And the Cowboys against the Eagles.
Cowboys and the Eagles, the late game, right? 4 o'clock Eastern.
Along with other regional action all across the country. Now back out of play by Valentine. Tom Glavine so tough in game 2. 6 innings, a 4-hit shutout baseball. Got the win in a 4-1 decision. Valentine gone on strikes, 2 away. Again, a reminder coming up next. For those of you on the East Coast, the late local news and then late night programming right after that. On the West Coast, keep it right here on Fox. Longtime teammates, Maddox and Glavine.
Part of one of the greatest pitching staffs ever assembled, along with John Smoltz. Maddox, Glavine, Smoltz. What a trio.
Julio Franco, at 48 years young, digging in. Well, you talk about a guy having a career. Came up to the big leagues, knocked the cover off the ball for a long, long time. First came up with Philly, then went over to the American League with Cleveland and Texas. And before you knew it, found himself out of the game, at least out of this game, not out of the game. Traveled to 4 other countries to find his way back, but Atlanta signed him out of the Mexican League. And everybody laughed at John Schuerholz when he signed him. They're not laughing now. That's only 6 years ago.
Still got another year on his contract with the Mets. How many 47-year-olds signed 2-year contracts? How many 47-year-olds signed 2-week contracts?
Right. When he first came up with Philadelphia back on April the 23rd, it was 1982. What was going on in this great country of ours? $1.30 for a gallon of gas. Herschel Walker, Georgia, won the Cy Young. Not even born, David Wright and Jose Reyes. And Timmy was grooving to Rosanna by the band Toto.
Was I ever?
Somewhere.
Oh, baby.
Gone swinging is Franco. So here come the Dodgers. One final gasp against Billy Wagner, trailing by 4. Tonight's Chevrolet player of the game is Shawn Green, who grew up in nearby Tustin, California. Comes back to haunt his former team with a single, a double, to drive in runs in the first 3 innings. Tacked on a 3rd hit, a double, and scored in the 3-run 6th. And in recognition of Shawn Green's outstanding play, Chevrolet will make a $1,000 contribution to the Boys and Girls Clubs of America Chevy and American Revolution. So now taking over on the mound, a non-save situation with a 4-run lead is Billy Wagner. Russell Martin down a strike.
Swinging at the first pitch against a guy who can get wild. And the best chance for the Dodgers right now, I mean, Billy Wagner has imploded not only several times this year, but throughout his career, he can get wild. But if he's throwing strikes, it's over.
That one looked up and out of the strike zone, but swung on and fouled out of play. Mota 2 innings, 3 hits, no runs. Heilman 1 inning, a couple of hits, but no runs. And now Wagner trying to send the Mets to the National League Championship Series for the first time since the year 2000. Slider missed down and in. And for the Dodgers, it would mean they have still not won a postseason series since winning the 1988 World Series. 88. And you're talking about one of the most storied franchises in baseball history. Well, the most storied voice in baseball history, Vin Scully. Martin gone swinging on a fastball at 95. Well, the New York Mets came racing out of the gate, led by the youngsters Reyes and Wright. Beltran, a monster first half. Pedro and Glavine were dynamite in the first half, got hurt in the second half. The only day they were not in first place was the second game of the season when they were 1-1. They've been in first every day since the third game of this year. It's extraordinary when you think about the top two starters, perhaps, when the playoffs began, neither one being available for the Mets. Pedro Martinez and then El Duque, Orlando Hernandez. And yet here they are, 2 outs away from a 3-game sweep.
Well, their starters had enough. John Maine, 4 1/3 in Game 1. Tommy Glavine worked 6 superb shutout innings in Game 2. And tonight, Steve Traxel went into the 4th inning. Strong bullpen exhibited by the Mets here in the postseason.
Swing and a miss by Betemit. And now the Dodgers down to their final out. I'd like to thank our producer of tonight's game, Jeff Gowan, our director, Jim Lynch, our associate director, Eric Billigmeyer, and our broadcast associate, Brian Biederman, our technical producer, Dan Rotante, senior producer of Fox Sports, Bill Brown, and executive producers, David Hill and Ed Gorin. Thank our entire crew, including our statistician, Mark Wagner, and everybody to bring you the game tonight from Dodger Stadium. Back-to-back strikeouts for Billy Wagner in the 9th. And now James Loney. He's driven in 3 runs of the Dodgers' 5 in the game. And a bases loaded 2-run single in the 4th. A bases loaded walk that gave the Dodgers a temporary 1-run lead in the 5th. One and 0 to Loney. And a bouncing ball foul. Well, the Mets, Timmy, have been the class in the National League all year long. 97 games.
Yep.
They were the best team. Not even disputable.
Nope.
But are you surprised it's 3 and out over the Dodgers? A pretty good club, one of the hottest clubs in baseball coming into this postseason.
I think I'm surprised because of the pitching of the Mets. They lose Pedro Martinez and El Duque, Orlando Hernandez. And they will lose them for the postseason. They will not be coming back. So it'll be interesting if the Mets do win tonight and face either San Diego or the St. Louis Cardinals next Wednesday. How their starting pitching will do against a tougher opponent.
Your attention, please.
Well, he mentioned the Mets had winning records against both teams. 4-2 over St. Louis, 5-2 against San Diego. Ramon Martinez will come up and bat for Saito. Strike 1. Well, the Dodgers still within slam range. They have 1 on with 2 men out. A ball and a strike.
Some show put on by the young James Loney. On base 4 times, 3 hits, 3 RBIs.
One and 1 to count. Grounded foul. And now the Dodgers down to their final strike. Billy Wagner, through all those postseason appearances with Houston, never notched a save. He got his first career postseason save in Game 1 of this series. Followed it with a save in Game 2. And now looking to try and send the Mets to the National League Championship Series. A nice blend on this club. Some youngsters built around Wright and Reyes on the left side. They've gone out and made some big money free agent acquisitions, i.e. Carlos Beltran making a deal for Delgado, but some shrewd moves. Andy Chavez bringing him in when others didn't want him. Valentin at second. acquiring LaDuca from the Marlins. Grounded foul. Omar Minaya, the general manager, making those moves and giving the players to Willie Randolph, whom he hired 3 years ago. Willie Randolph may have spent most of his days wearing a Yankee uniform, but made no mistake, he grew up rooting for the New York Mets in Brooklyn.
Yep.
Will Nomar be wearing Dodger blue next year? 2-2 pitch. Swung on and fouled back out of play. Greg Maddux. What uniform will he don in 2007? But those are questions for another day. Right now, the New York Mets, a strike away and out away from the LCS. Grounded foul.
Gritty at bat by Ramon Martinez. 9 pitches during this at bat, and Billy Wagner, one of those pitchers that the deeper into the pitch count he goes, the tougher he becomes.
Martinez looking for another bat. Somebody finally just slings him one from the end of the dugout. Two and two the count on Ramon Martinez. Almost hit with that pitch, so there will be a 10th pitch in this at bat. If the Mets hang on tomorrow night, right here on Fox, Game 4 of that division series from St. Louis and Busch Stadium. Woody Williams against Chris Carpenter. 3-2 to Martinez. In the air down the right field line. Green in the corner. He's got room. And the New York Mets, for the first time since 2000, will advance to the National League Championship Series. They have swept the Dodgers 3-0. Congratulations to Willie Randolph and the New York Mets. He talked about winning as a manager for the first time this year after all the champagne celebrations that he had, not only as a player, but later as a coach in the New York Yankees organization. He said it's more fun to win it as a player, to celebrate with your teammates, but you feel like a father whose kids have accomplished something when you win it as a manager.
Before the postseason started, both New York teams were favored to advance. And now for Met fans, the right one has.
The fly ball to right, they wondered if Green had room. He did, and it's celebration time. And they have plenty of time to celebrate. The National League Championship Series will begin in Shea Stadium Wednesday night.
Got him.
Let's send it downstairs as part of the celebration with Chris Myers.
All right, thanks, Tom. Paul, I hate to interrupt you. Just a moment here for the live Fox audience. Congratulations, by the way. You're going to the National League Championship Series.
Thank you. You know, it's 1 for 25 this whole year. Every guy's chipping in. What can I say? This team has been down and out. With El Duque and Pedro went down, we bounced back, and that's a great ball club.
Yeah, and for you, special, I know Sean Green, some ex-Dodgers, a handful of them coming up big tonight.
you know, I didn't get to pop the champagne in 2004 here, and I'm getting to do it in 2006. It's a happy day.
All right, good luck, Paul. Thanks very much. We have David Wright here. Tom, real quick, congratulations. I thought you did well against the Cardinals and Padres during the year. You'll sit back and watch?
Yeah, and we're in a fortunate position. We got some guys that are banged up to be able to get these next couple days off, relax, and turn on the TV. So we're excited.
You had the lead tonight. Even when the Dodgers rallied in the sixth and were out in front, you were a very determined, confident bench to end it tonight.
We've been doing that all year, coming from behind. We're a resilient team. It seems like when we get down, that just pushes and motivates us that much more to take the lead. And we came in, had some great at-bats, and just took it one batter at a time.
All right, David Wright, we'll see you Wednesday night, all right, in New York.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. All right, congratulations again, Tom.
All right, Chris, thank you very much. And again, congratulations to the New York Mets. For more information on tonight's game and for the latest information on Major League Baseball, log on to foxsports.com, powered by MSN. So for Tim McCarver, Chris Myers, and our entire crew, Tom Brenneman saying so long from Los Angeles. Jeannie Zelasco, Kevin Kennedy, and Jimmy Rollins will be along in the Fox Network Center after these messages. See you tomorrow night from St. Louis.
Welcome to the Chevy postgame show on Fox. Chevy, an American revolution. And this gives new meaning to the term Dodger Blues as we take a live shot in Los Angeles. 4 former members of the Blue Crew, the Dodgers, helped lead the Mets to the NLCS Wednesday night at Shea. And the final nail in the coffin, yes, you better believe, it would come from a former Dodger. Sean Green reaching out and wrapping his glove around the baseball, the final out that moves the Mets on to the NLCS. Earlier in the day, how about the Tigers winning a playoff series for the first time in 21 years and taking down the New York Yankees en route to the American League Championship Series. Jimmy Leland for governor. I think at this point, if they could get enough votes there, it'd be Jimmy Leland for president, gentlemen, don't you think?
Yeah, I think you're right.
Kevin Kennedy, Jimmy Rollins joining us in the studio. Great to have you with us all day.
Great job, too.
Absolutely.
Great insight.
And great for the Mets as well. I guess as good as advertised, yes?
Well, you know, too much firepower for the Mets. This really, to me, came down to bullpens, and I thought that Willie Randolph managed his bullpen with a sense of urgency, not panic, but urgency, recognizing when to change the momentum and keep it on your side, and I think he did that tonight. I think he did it in all 3 games, and the bullpen, of course, the #1 in the National League, got it done. But I thought the real key, Joe Beimel being out really hurt the Dodgers. It hurt him tonight because Jonathan Broxton had to come in the 6th inning with a 1-run lead. That's not normally his role. And the key at bat of the game to me was Jose Reyes, and Jimmy and I were talking during the game that was just happening. And being a switch hitter, you were saying what? Don't throw him anything off speed.
Don't throw anything off speed that's breaking. A changeup is fine, but anything breaking he's going to read, and he made him pay for it.
And this guy's been awesome all season long as the Mets celebrate. I mean,
still looking live in the clubhouse.
Jose Reyes, one of the most energetic players in the game. You can see the enthusiasm of Jose Reyes. You saw it when he got that base hit to tie the game in the center field, and the momentum went back to the Mets, and they scored 3 runs in the top of the 6th, and the rest was history.
All right, half the frame is set in the National League. What about the Padres? What about the Cardinals? Well, San Diego lives to see another day. The Padres trying to become just the 6th team to come back from an 0-2 deficit to win the divisional series. Tough road with the probable Cy Young repeat winner in the way Sunday on Fox.
And I like this, that Chris Carpenter is actually pitching the 4th game. I think you've got to get there first. Go ahead and try to put the finishing touches on. Don't use your 4th starter. Use your best. Carpenter against Woody Williams. So the Padres, once again, have to come up big and maybe put some zeros up there early and not pitch to Pujols, that's for sure.
And, of course, that game, as mentioned, Game 4 on Fox, will be on your air following football. Might I suggest you find a real good spot on the couch, get comfy. Football, another do or die for the Padres Game 4 NLDS with the Cardinals. All right, we're looking for a prediction in the ALCS now that we have the matchup, gentlemen.
Well, since we just about got them all wrong so far, why not just try once again, you know?
But it's been that kind of season. The entire baseball season was like,
it
show
really
up the next
has.
week, somebody else is atop the
I
standings.
cannot bet against the Tigers pitching. #1 pitching staff in baseball. Anytime you have an ERA below 4 in the American League, I think that momentum right now is on their side.
And anyone knows me knows I'm from Oakland, so there you have it.
You better have the right pick.
One of us is going to be right.
All right, we have half of the NL. Who's winning tomorrow, Padres or Cardinals?
Let's go for your Padres, Jeannie. You want to get it back to San Diego.
You want to run me out of Los Angeles?
As long as you don't
hey,
pitch
Jimmy,
the
it's
Pujols.
been a pleasure. We look
Thanks
forward
for
to
having me.
seeing you on the field next year, and thanks for everything you did with us today. And enjoy the football on Fox tomorrow. Have a